Welcome everyone to the 2019 PUBG Mobile Club Open, where we are now in week number 2. My name's Esquire, joined here by Trid. What an exciting week of PUBG Mobile that we had, at least in our first week of the tournament.
Yeah, we were able to start disseminating where these teams are starting to fall on the standings and climb up their way up there. Because at the moment, though, it's a little bit imbalanced. Groups A and C, they've been able to get those additional game days in, so they're now on 8 maps played, and that's affected the standings. But there are teams in groups B and D who we're going to be seeing today who are slowly getting up there, and they are going to be getting to high positions based off of today's matches. I mean, for me personally, if we're talking about that argument in particular, I'm looking at the likes of Nova Esports. These people are already in 9th place with half the games played of everyone else in their general vicinity. They pop off big today. These are guys who are going to be able to potentially dethrone Misfits Gaming at the end of today.
Yeah, and that's something we definitely have to keep our eyes on, because Misfits, they had a stellar week number 1, but in day 3 of week 1, we saw them kind of fall off in the performance that we expected from them, so certainly that point gap started to close. But also, Trid, the elephant in the room, 0 points for one of our teams. There was a bit of a competitive ruling as it relates to that squad, so if you're interested in more information about what went down, head on over to clubopen.pubgmobile.com, where you can not only find information about that, but also all the VODs, the rules, the standings, everything you need to take you through this tournament.
So yeah, are you scared of being down onto 0 points? They are going to be playing today though, so they have a chance to redeem the points that they've lost from that competitive ruling.
Right.
Their campaign through the rest of the Club Open is certainly not over based off of that decision. They have got the option to get back in there. Looking at some of the other teams we've got here today who have been popping off a little bit, or maybe more accurately, we expect to pop off, shall we say. Space Station Gaming, they didn't have the best of week 1s in their first game day, and so we really need to step up here and start getting those points on the board. I think they're going to be a team that's safe when it comes to getting through the group stage, but they need to show us more if they're looking to contend in the finals at the end of this season.
Yes, I mean, scrims are great, right? And in those scrims, at least that we see running by the community over the last couple weeks, Space Station is one of those teams that we consistently see in the top, so it's no surprise, at least, that they're in that upper, maybe top 8 positions coming into today. But exactly right, Trid, we got to see more out of them as it kind of progresses through this tournament. It's not going to get any easier from here on out, and certainly utilizing this opportunity as practice, right? Because scrims are great.
Yeah.
They certainly are beneficial for your team with what you can do, but you're not going to get the creative environment that these teams are seeing here in the actual tournament.
And let's have a look at how they have, well, the buffet, shall we say, of maps these players are going to have to pop off today. When we take a look at today's schedule, we've already told you, groups B and D are going to throw hands today. We're going to kick things off on Sanhok, move over to Vikendi, and end it, as we always do, with a double serving of Erangel. And it's exactly what groups A and C played on our last game day, which was, of course, on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly right. So you have to be the masters of every single map here. Take a look, though, at your entire weekend schedule for the final weekend of the group stages. 4 matches per day, and you can see how it sort of progresses. No real, I guess, shifts off of our map schedule. This is exactly what you're going to be seeing day in and day out. And Trid, at the conclusion of day number 3, well, that's where we're going to know which 8 teams are going back to the drawing board and which 24 teams are moving on to the semifinals. Yeah,
we could just think back to how those standings look. Those bottom 8 teams, they are going to be no longer with us after the end of Sunday's games, more accurately.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now, as things stand, Totality, Cream, Ignite, Silent Killers, Latinos Unidos, VN1, Home Alone, and I'm Your Enemy are in that danger zone. But of course, they are playing with a 4-map deficit right now. They're going to play catch up, and I have no doubt that the standings are going to be shook by the end of today's games.
Yeah, certainly. And you know, some of our teams that aren't playing today are going to be watching those leaderboards, and maybe some of our top teams from this lobby saying, no, please don't get that first place. Please do not close that point gap. But certainly it is closing up, at least in the upper echelon of this lobby. And even as you start to trickle down, Trid, the points get really close for even a kill. We've been saying it all tournament, 1 point per kill. Given how heavily weighted placements are, it's not extremely impactful, but if you look, you're starting to see some scores line up with just a few points separating, you know, some of our top teams here.
The unnamed and version 2 white with a 1 point difference. They're not going to be played today, thankfully, for those standings. But, like you said, Esquire, it's just 1 kill can make the difference there. So, Groups B and D kick things off on Sanhok. What are we expecting from game 1? Well, Sanhok, half the size of pretty much all the other maps, expecting a lot of aggression. We did have an extremely quick game, shall we say, when we played it on Sunday, and it was not necessarily say the most active a participation when it came from Team Envy, or
Right.
Envious,
Yeah, Envious,
to get
yeah.
that, I believe they got the second place finish.
Yes, they did, and that was by virtue of them being on the low ground inside of the cave. We had one team, I think it was version 2 white, up on top of the cave, and it really came down to a med battle, and that was actually a pretty interesting game. And again, guys, if you missed that game, go on back to the VODs, click on day 3 of week 1, soar through them over on clubopen.pubgmobile.com. Also subscribe to the YouTube because we've got our VODs there as well. But I mean, Trid, that was a pretty exciting game. We've seen a few games actually be determined between a med battle, up and below, the high ground versus low ground, and well, at that point, it's anyone's game.
Well, it's also been decided by, if I recall correctly, on Vikendi and on Erangel, we've had 2 instances where teams have taken over the upper floor of houses, only to have it come back and bite them by the team that's controlling the exterior. Because when that circle forces you out the house, you only have a finite number of windows to actually leap out of, and there's going to be an entire team waiting for you. It's the house Spec was able to win out last week as well. On Erangel, when that came down to a prison circle, players had to jump out of a window straight into his line of sight. So that could be a repeating pattern here where teams are trying to get the upper floor advantage, but then it just comes back to bite them ultimately.
Do we just go back and call Spec the warden of prison? Has he earned that title? Because I don't know what he did. Well, certainly he did a lot there, but I don't necessarily know what happened because it was so crazy. I mean, it was just kill after kill after kill. So he's definitely earned himself some title. We'll think on that.
But the title he does still hold is single map kill leader, right? He's
exactly
got the single most amount of kills in any map across our tournament so far, 14 to be precise. So that is his title that needs to be dethroned. It's just the issue of will it come from a group in B and D through today's action to do it.
Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. 4 matches, though, to be played out, so there are opportunities, Drid. It is certainly going to be up to these individuals as players, as well as these individuals with their team synergy to see if they can actually make it there, because you're not picking up any massive kill wins or massive kill counts unless you're getting all the way up into those top placements.
Yeah, top placements, obviously themselves being their own reward. We're going to just give you a quick reminder, shall we say. First place finish will give you 30 points. So obviously it's a little bit more skewed towards staying alive, which may cause some more passive decisions from the teams, but unless you're like these top tier ones, they're just racking up the kills anyway. You do see a lot of teams in the top 5, top 10 who aren't necessarily picking up the kills reflective of the positional finish, but surviving is a skill in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is. I know our players are loading into the game right now, so it's just going to be about another minute until we soar you across the jungles of Sanok. But Trid, we're in the game time moments, right? Are you looking for anything in particular in this map? You talked about Sanok. It's likely going to be pretty action-packed based off of what we've seen, but is there anything striking you, anything that you're going to be maybe keeping your tabs on, any teams in particular?
I want to see what Nova does. I think Nova's the team to watch with that map difference, and we were talking about it before the show. 100 points today, if they get themselves that, then they are going to take that first place spot. A century is completely possible. Misfits
from Misfits.
Misfits got 140 or 130, something like that for one day of action. I think Nova could do something similar here by racking up high kill counts and also getting those great finishes. So keep an eye on Nova today, shall we say.
Okay, and my eyes are going to be at least on Space Station Gaming in game number 1. I want to see, we talked about them in the pregame, they've had fairly consistent results. Not necessarily those top tier results that they're looking for, but what can they bring to the table today? Well, Trid, time will tell, because here we go into game. It's going to be game number 1 of week 2 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open. Across Sanok we go.
And it's going to be a west to east flight path just south of the midway point, so still a lot of options here. This is a 4x4 map, so there's a lot of movement to be had. The question then comes into, are you hot dropping on top of someone else? Because smaller location, smaller amount of loot places, or loot hotspots.
Exactly right, and with these teams now in week number 2, they have the benefit of hindsight. They have been able to go back into these VODs. They've been able to track the different places where teams like to loot, and hopefully, you know, even though it is a 4x4 map, there are tons of drop locations that you can go to avoid those early game conflicts if it doesn't necessarily suit your team's strong points. But again, Trid, we saw teams hot dropping all over the place on Sanok. Some very important battles have already raged on, and we'll see if that kind of transpires here today.
Ignite Gold is actually already taking a fight in their loot location where they drop down over to the west. So a couple of firefights already been had, but I think they're disengaging off of that, not wanting to take it this early on, because I doubt all of them are looted up with even just a firearm at this point.
And we did see phase number 1 pop. It is going to be an interesting phase 1, and that it encompasses all 3 of the miniature islands here that make up Sanok, which also implicates those dangerous, dangerous bridges, which can also be a choke point for some of these teams trying to make rotations. But we're looking over here. It's going to be Ignite Gold, team number 16, looting up in the ruins area on that far western side of the map. All to their lonesomes, which gives them the opportunity to really reap the benefits of ruins, which is, it's a loot chest, Trin. That's essentially what it sums up to.
Yeah, they were able to get that one. I think they wrestled away control of that from Silent Killers, who also are in the area, but they are departing ruins. I don't think they could realize they would be able to take that fight, so they've already kicked someone away. But now, Silent Killers, they're moving into territory in between Ignite Gold and Pittsburgh Knights, so this could be dangerous for them should they try and expand elsewhere, depending on where that Phase 2 circle drops.
And here we pop over to 2 other teams, VN1 as well as team number 14. This is going to be G6, Yak Up, and the rest of the crew. Just looting up on the east and western sides of this town. They're not going to be getting too close to each other just yet. Certainly a lot of these members of these squads trying to find those much needed items such as armor, helmets, possibly even some more ammo to boot, but they're looking pretty good in terms of what G6 is carrying around. Looks like all of their members are at least level 2'd up, and they've got the assault rifles to boot, so you might see an engagement popping off here on top of VN1 very, very quickly.
As they get in position, they are playing very mindful of where they think VN1 are as they're pushing up into that line. Look at Lucas here. He's going to be that first target, and basically the point man for VN1. Might have to give it away here as the shots are getting ready to be lined up. Just going to be sprayed down. Lucas going to be that first casualty. They got the knock, and Alashi going to try and chase it down afterwards, get that first kill. VN1 are providing some reinforcements, trying to get some covering fire, because now they definitely know that G6 are there, but Lucas is going down all the same.
A tough spot for Lucas to be in. He was sort of central town, playing as that one player off from the other 3 members of his squad. He had the benefit to at least hear the footsteps and relay that information to his team, but unfortunately they lost out in the process of having their 4th member alive. As this battle rages on, though, Yakup going to be looking down the sights of that 3 times up on top of the UMP, trying to scout out his opponents, and sure enough, he did see someone hop across that gap in the alleyway. Just continuing to try to line him up. Could be spotting out one more member. QE going to be at least try to be tagged up, evading all of those shots entirely.
Just going to rotate around. It's actually quite fortunate for VN1 that was that position being played quite forward by Lucas, because obviously it's not fortunate that you'll lose a member, but it could have been a lot worse if they were all in that house, for example, or in the local area for that engagement. So him being so separated does isolate the mistakes that VN1 could have made in that instance.
Blue zone starting to now make its way in towards phase number 1. These teams at the southern edge of the zone will not have to worry about those early game rotations to get to safety, but they will have to worry about possibly trying to get a better positioning as the game goes on. Unfortunately, it looks like VN1 has lost 1 player to possibly a disconnect, so that it is going to be a 3v3, at least with what these teams are working with in this part of SAME. But again, you have to be concerned, are either of these teams really going to pick up much in this scenario, or are they really just kind of at a standstill where neither team is getting the loot and both teams are losing out on some of those more favored positions? Speaking of favored positions, a little bit over off center over to the east, it's going to be Are You Scared?
Looking to get up this hill. Of course, they've got Nova waiting for them up there, who did have 1 man dropped. I don't believe they were able to save him entirely. I think it was Sam who got knocked. He might still be on the server. We'll have to double check in with them more specifically. But Are You Scared? Just playing around to the sides. And they are very far away from Nova. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything here against them or even take the fight. But they are looking to move further north into this next circle.
Yeah, this is the stage of Sanhok where you just expect teams to be posturing. Almost everywhere inside of the Sanhok drop zone is going to be implicated inside of phase number 1. But it's going to be lights out. Memo under fire here as I'm Your Enemy. Proton, the rest of the crew has likely at least been able to secure the knock. He's going to be trying to crawl behind the rock, trying to avoid being flushed. As you see the other 3 teammates from this lights out squad going to be pushing very aggressively over here to the west-hand side where they have lost their player Memo, and it's only a matter of time before that kill gets secured as I'm Your Enemy starts to line up the shots.
Yeah, they just pinned him down, and there's not much they can do about it. They got the angle, even close enough to get the frag off here. King G going to throw it in, but they've already expired. They've lost that member, and now Lights Out need to be cautious about what they're doing. They should back off of this one, knowing that they've just lost a man to that squad, but Still going to hold some relative position in the area. Enemy just taking a quick loop break, and then they'll be on the warpath back up there again.
Yeah, quick loop break, just a few meters short of where Rolex's position is. Certainly Lights Out knows exactly that I'm Your Enemy has pushed up. They heard the smokes coming out. They're knowing that I'm Your Enemy is not going to be disengaging off of this. And, well, you have to expect if you're I'm Your Enemy that Lights Out, the other 3 members were pushing over. Outsider 9K going to be pushed back a little bit off to the southeast of this current position as Rolex and Sega continue to hold on to that high ground, trying to get some junk peeps over. I mean, this is third-person perspective. You have the benefit of looking over, using some of those crafty angles that you don't see in first person.
Just going to throw that grenade over. Rolex just going to fall back. Outside of 9K, playing his first game for Lights Out as that substitution from this week's game. So he didn't play in the first day. Let's see if he can make an impact with this roster. Now they have been handicapped by 1, but King G already getting the spray down. Sega. Bullets land true. King G so close to being knocked off the map altogether, but he's taking cover, and the rest of I'm Your Enemy are making adaptations to try and fold around him and protect that downed colleague.
Anytime the blue zone is about to meet the edges of the previous phase, it's kind of a tough time to take these engagements, but the knock is going to be coming out. It's going to be Rolex with the M416 on top of Proton, kickstarting this battle even more, and another knock going to be coming out. Sad going to be going down to Seagut. Only one more member, at least of this I'm Your Enemy squad, to deal with, and it's going to be Senso just off to the west, a few meters from where the members of Lights Out are currently posturing.
They were just abusing the fact that they were in position, they were set up, got a few knocks, and they made this 3v4 and completely turned it in their favor. Lights Out should be able to deal with Senso because Proton's not in a position here where he's going to be rezzed. Just seen Silent Killers also getting knocked out by VN1 pretty much. Proton just going to be still down, but it's Senso return fire onto Rolex, and Seagut's going to be there to finish off the kill. So that's going to be Lights Out taking the 3v4, coming out on top.
Yeah, unfortunately was not able to secure the kill before going down, so Rolex and his crew from Lights Out has an opportunity to recover, continue on without memo. 3 to their name, would not count Lights Out just yet. As they continue on here, though, they have to make that shift from that far eastern edge of circle number 1 over to the west. And Trid, this circle is getting even more interesting because we continue to see all 3 major parts of Sanok implicated here, and that river sort of makes a peace sign going through phase number 2. It's going to be interesting. Where are these teams going to go? We see this scenario sort of played out in Erangel matches with the channel and then the river leading out of Yasnaya, and a lot of teams can be punished here if they make the wrong decision.
I'm just looking at that hotspot of teams right there in the center, just offside to the right. You got HQA in there, Pittsburgh Knights and Cream Esports NA, all in very close vicinity, and that's only going to that situation is only going to get worse over time because more teams are going to start compounding into this lesser space that's being created by the next and repeating circles.
Yeah, respect the idea that all 3 of those teams have. Try to get as central as possible, but also posture yourselves near the rivers, so if you have to make that rotation off to the west, off to the east, or up to the north, you can quickly do so. But again, that issue, that task becomes a little bit more problematic when you have so many teams clustered into that area trying to make the exact same rotations. Looking over here, though, Are You Scared? Going to be on a transition of their own. From east to west they go, possibly going to be riding on to the eastern edge of phase number 2, and all things considered, wouldn't be a bad position for them.
Wouldn't be, but they may run into the issue here because you've got Lights Out coming in to the circle. They might end up hitting Method or potentially Are You Scared, depending on how they change their course. Method are already set up just southeast of boot camp. So if Are You Scared go in and push north, they could run into a 3-man showdown or a 3-team showdown if they're not too careful. But if they keep straight on the path they're on now and just go past Painan, they're going to end up hitting that cluster of teams we already spoke about, dead center of the circle. So it's not looking good for them. Where do you maneuver without falling into line of sight of an enemy team?
Certainly trying to maneuver that is a difficult task within itself, one that will really start to at least shine on the teams that have been practicing these rotations, the teams that have been putting in the research to know where exactly their enemies are going to be dropping and where they rotate after that initial drop phase. But we continue to watch Alushi, the rest of G6 already picking up 1 kill to their name down in Sammy to start the game off.
Keep heading north. You can see on their screens they've got potentially have eyes on VN1, so they know that squad is back in the fight, and they're set up right now relatively stationary. They're pretty comfortable with where they position themselves, so if G6 press forward, they'll be the ones hitting in. Latinos Unidos just going over the hills close to Lights Out here, who are, I believe they're set up, but are they able to see them? Latinos Unidos just on the tree line. This is exactly how Lights Out won that previous engagement, just playing around cover, waiting for the right time to attack and allowing their enemies to come to them and fight on their terms. But is Sega cooking up a nade to kick things off and throw it on an arc?
Could be a very good nade placement if it lands behind the rock. It's going to be a little bit short, but it finds its mark onto Angel from Latinos Unidos. It's going to be going down to kickstart this battle. Exactly what the members of Lights Out needed to do to even out the odds between these two teams. A 3v3 now will rage on here on the hillside, the high ground currently belonging to Latinos Unidos, as Seagut and the rest of Lights Out try to do whatever they can to maneuver this position and watch for any flanks.
It's very patient from Lights Out. They're just willing to play around the circle. Rolex is actually in the blue right now, I believe. He's going to have to try and come in, but he's holding out tanky to get a better angle. Mateus is going to be sprayed down by outside of 9K. He's going to be dropped himself because there's a cluster of Latinos Unidos just behind this rock right now. Need to close ranks, get that res on, bring Mateus back into the fight, and the same thing needs to be done for outsiders. Rolex still tanking this blue to get a good angle. I don't think they're expecting this to come from the outside.
No, they absolutely are not, and if he continues to inch his way forward without being detected by the members of Latinos Unidos, well, it could spell disaster for this four-man squad. They were able to pick up the res as well, so although Lights Out has been able to secure 2 knocks, they have not been able to capitalize on the flushes.
They have no idea right now. Lights Out playing it slowly, but they're backing off and changing position. Rolex might just have to get himself into the area now. This is a bold strategy, and I don't think there's going to be payoff here for him as much as he thought there could have been. So he's going to get spotted. He's going to eyes up that rotation. Maybe get a few shots off, but Clonus takes the shot onto outside of 9K, who gets knocked again. But the rest of Lights Out are able to just fold around him, and it's basically the way that Latinos Unidos are just saying, okay, we're done with this. We're going to knock one of you so you close ranks, and we're going to get out of here. We don't want to take this fight anymore. So they just sprint off into the mountains.
I was a bit worried about that Latinos Unidos retreat, because without that knock, they didn't really have a big window to cross this wide open area. Knock was beautiful, secures them a few seconds to get out of dodge and continue on this trek from east to west, because phase number 3 is up, and Trid, it continues to hard shift over towards the western side of Sanok. And with these teams that have been moving off of the east, they continue to face off against obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And I wouldn't say that this is the last time we're going to see Latinos Unidas as well as Lights Out clash, but we're seeing another battle over here. It's going to be VN1 versus the members of Ignite Gaming. Marvis and his teams trying to shoot whatever they can off here down to the south, where VN is holding on to their position. A 4v3, at least from what we're looking at.
And you got G6 coming in behind them. This could be really bad just north of Tambang. So they're not careful and take this engagement quickly. They're going to end up in a horrible situation. That powder keg in the center also popping off right now. HQA taking that fight with Cream Esports, getting multiple knocks down there. Probably going to end up with the victory here as they just finish it off, run into the room, and Kira finally going to go down, and that's HQA picking up a squad wipe in the middle of the map.
3 teams have been taken out of the game so far here as we watch the blue zone start to shrink in on phase number 3, but the action is still in store for us. The pressure cooker of Sanok continues to build up, and it will erupt here in just a matter of minutes. But Marvis, Ignite Gold continue to look on. They're going to be spotting out possibly another team approaching off of that far angle up there on the hill. It's going to be none other than G6 with a nice opportunity to look. But over here, Pittsburgh Knights Wi-Fi is going to be spraying down, trying to find any of the members of Are You Scared? The IGN of this Pittsburgh Knights squad will be getting knocked immediately by the M416 of Mighty.
Monarch and 7 are taking the position around to come up, take it aggressively. Look at the jump out, the emergence of Are You Scared? Simultaneously jump out from behind the rock and catch Pittsburgh Knights off guard. Jagger is in the back line trying to do what he can to lay down some suppressive fire. When you got Mighty going for the flank to finish off and get the flush, Wi-Fi still down over to the side. Jagger has to cut his losses here, get out and play for placement now. That's Pittsburgh Knights' proactive run now being ended.
The tough decision to have to make when you are playing that Overwatch position separated from your teammates. You see them go down, you can't let emotions take over you. You have to be able to pull off of this and know when you are left as the insurance policy for your team, and they'll be doing just that.
This is really bad if you're on the South Island. If you're on the North Island, you're absolutely fine right now because you got Home Alone and just blinded by Win up there. But the rest of the teams are just on this southern path. And if you look over to the eastern part of the circle, there's not many routes to get across that island safely, and people are going to start converging as they just pivot, or not pivot, really just force themselves into the eastern side of the new circle that's being formed.
If you're watching at home, keep in mind 13 teams alive at this stage in the game, but with this next phase number 4 being implicated, that number is about to get cut in half. You're already starting to see teams and players drop like flies as Ignite Gold tries to reposture off of this area just to the west of Ruins on that coastal region. They've got about a couple hundred meters to go, about 500 meters exact, and with that river now being implicated as well, crossing from south to north is going to be extremely deadly with teams already in wait.
Here's VM1 having to take that 180 pivot to try and fight with G6 rather than Ignite Gold. He's on top of this rock. Spray down's there. He's going to hit the rock instead. He's going to shoot down. That's a good knock onto Yayo, but now he has to take cover from behind because he's just being fired up by that flank coming in as Alushi will get the knock, but just falling off the map there. Just going to be unfortunate for him. Bucky, VN1, going to be taken out here. G6 trying to recover. Going to get the reses in onto Alushi and Yayo.
Unfortunately, engagements that these teams had to take to be able to make this next rotation, but how far back will this set them? A lot of time being utilized here as the blue zone starts to creep in. Yayo going to be fully at least enveloped by that blue zone, has to combat it with whatever meds he has left after that engagement, and you gotta fear for G6 trying to get up to the northern region. Will they be able to safely do so? And I think their only win condition, or at least condition on getting into this next zone, is that the action pops off on the southern side and hopefully the attention gets brought away.
They're going to run the world's hardest game of Red Rover through Ignite Gold, Pittsburgh Knights, and Space Station Gaming on this route. Jagger's just got eyes on Angry, going to get the knock instead there. Takes cover behind it, but now he's just alerted an entire squad to his presence, who returns fire immediately. And Helmet, he has no time for your shenanigans. Jagger and the rest of Pittsburgh Knights now being successfully eliminated from the map.
It looked like he was going to have a good opportunity to possibly get a flush on that, but the Space Station Gaming says, no, sir, not today. And Helmet does exactly that. Takes the helmet off that Pittsburgh Knights player as Ignite Gold tries to make this rotation as well. A lot of teams have now made it at least to the northern side of phase number 4, but a lot of teams still remain down to the south. And, well, it's going to be a bloodbath. The river separating these two parts of the play zone is about to turn red.
Lights Out actually attacked the blue for an incredibly long time, and they're starting to feel the pain of that. Ignite Gold feeling a little bit of pain as well, as Marvist has to take cover from the other side of the river. Trying to get eyes on who was taking that shot. Is blinded by Win, actually taking the shots across the lake. They got one member on the same side as them, feeding the information, as Kodo's just being a little dolphin in the water right now.
Just going for a bit of a swim. You know, the summer months are upon us, Trid, so why not get a little bit wet if you have the opportunity? Are you scared, though? Going to be rotating in, able to get a nice knock on one of the members of G6. Yayo going down. That's going to be another knock. Jakob going down as well. Will their solo player left alive be able to combat the pressure that is being applied to them from this hillside? It's about to be deadly, and Trid, they've got to move again. The next phase has popped. Phase number 5 is up, and a shift down from the north we go. The northern side going to get incredibly small, and the southern side is about to be incredibly active.
Yeah, HQA trying to take those engagements where they could. They are going to have to make that pivot from east to west, keeping their eyes across the river, because Method are over on the other side. They may spot them if they run across the brank. Space Station Gaming Carnage taking a few shots. Hector will get the knock onto Chaos and Ignite Gold, as Carnage is just holding this angle, pinning down the members of G6, and they're about to get caught in between themselves, as well as Are You Scared, as they already get that knock onto Alushi. Kill confirmed coming in as well. Mighty will get knocked, but he's going to be there relatively safely behind the trees. They take the fight with SSG across the way as well, simultaneously fighting. There's spray from Chadu. Not going to be able to get the kill onto Rolex. He actually gets knocked himself, but Rolex has to get in the circle now, otherwise he's just going to go down anyway. Carnage gets that knock onto Swai. He's just going to be holding the angle still, looking for Yayo. Will spray down, but now he's tanking blue, so he has to reposition. He's only very close to the circle, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem for him.
And Rolex has made it out of the blue zone. The blue is still going to be on their backside. They have to move up even further, but HQA is going to be spotting out one of the members of Method. Pride immediately going to be knocked down, and he's in the blue zone as well. You got to be fearful for what Method can pull out of this, but they do have one member secured on the northeastern side of the zone, looking right down on top of HQA. No shots coming out just yet, trying to provide that overwatch to his teammates, but now Rolex has to take the dive, and he's not going to be able to safely do so, as HQA's Zyphon is lying in wait. M416 kill prepped and ready, but now they're being returned upon. The weapon that secured the kill for Zyphon is now being turned against him, as Helmet and the rest of Space Station Gaming look off to the north.
They've got excellent cover from their position. They're just lighting up these members across the way. HQA just need to get off that grassy knoll, otherwise they'll be next on the cards for Space Station Gaming, who have got themselves in a very fortunate position here. They just need to be mindful of who's trying to get close to that river, who's trying to traverse it, and that next circle may be difficult for them.
Before, about 2 minutes ago, Trid, we had 14 teams remaining. Now we are left with 3. It's going to be Space Station down to the south, Method off to the northeast, and then over to the northwest. Blinded by Win, and wide in the open they certainly are. Carnage spots him out. M416 spray will be coming out, and it's going to be his teammate, Sixless of Space Station Gaming, that secures the knock onto Arcs.
3 teams, 9 players, 2 full squads, plus Everfury hiding off to the side. Parker going to get knocked by a headshot from Carnage. It's Hector just going to try and get in here and allow Manny to get that res off onto Parker, bring him back into the game. You've still got Arc is down as well. Everfury's off to the side. He's biding his time. He wants to take a fight against one of these weakened teams after the main engagement happens. That's his path to victory.
And this is the unique area of the Sanhok River as well. Sort of a shallow area that you can almost walk across parts of it. But Helmet, he's going to be able to cross the river, but unfortunately going to be under fire here as the members of Blinded by Wind were able to find and knock Everfury, the solo player left from Method, makes his move. He's going to be spotted out from across the map, and down he goes to Arcs.
They don't want any independent player coming in here and creating some chaos on the back line while the fight's going on. So they're going to bring it down to a full squad. Sixless has been removed. So it's a 4v3 in favor of Blinded by Win. And the circle control is in favor of Space Station. So it's going to have to be Blinded by Win making that first move.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on what Blinded by Wind will do here to set the landscape for this engagement. They need some smoke utility to come out to provide them that safe concealment to roll between cover to cover. A few rocks, a few trees going to be their only choice here in the final moments of game number 1 of week 2.
You got Angry right at the back, providing that oversight, being able to watch the flanks a little bit further away and not be in that direct cover, which is very obscuring even with the third-person perspective. But grenades are coming out by Blinded by Win. Just going to be hitting off to the side, not actually finding their mark, but getting awfully close. Helmet needs to get some kind of healing in here, and he's just going to pop off that first aid kit, bring himself up to his best health as he can get. And the grenades keep being traded, even a Molotov or two. And the bullets are starting to fly, but no one's taking any damage yet.
And I like the effort by Space Station to save the Molotovs. They're trying to create some type of zoning pressure out on what is going to be the final battlefield of this game. But here it comes. The snakes are out. Blinded by Wind will be advancing their position, trying to get inside of the safe zone, but they're going to be spotted out as Space Station going to be raining down shots. It's going to be none other than Helmet. Once again, M416 spray going to be ringing true, but he gets immediately knocked and traded out in return.
Arcs is going to keep on getting closer. Hector is down for Blinded by Wind. If they can get this loss or get this knock back into the game faster, they'll be returned with full strength. I believe Hector is being, his wounds are being tended to. As Angry throws out some grenade pressure. They're trying to stack behind that tree, but it's not enough as Carnage is going to get that knock onto Parker. There's Helmet again. He's going to make sure Hector goes down. Keep the spray coming from Angry. I believe there's only one member left to take. If they can get Arcs, they might be able to secure this, but the return fire comes in from Manny. It's going to make it difficult to keep SSG in the game. Spraying along, but Manny's on the back line. We'll get the kill and confirm it onto Helmet. It's just Carnage and Angry left, but the sightlines too good. They split the angle and bisected in the middle. Is, of course, Blinded by Win, and that's going to be them going out in second place. Space Station Gaming, we asked them to turn up, Esquire, and they've done that in game number 1.
They certainly did. That was an incredible battle to watch how it played out. Blinded by Win and Space Station Gaming essentially left to only team strategy to play out in that environment. There wasn't really much favoring either of those teams and how incredible it was. But Blinded by Win, a huge, huge second place coming in for them.
Yeah, fantastic performance to get themselves back on the board as well. I believe you got Method coming in at third place. So that was one of these teams that we were told to keep a look at the beginning of the tournament, but didn't find the best of placements in those week 1 standings. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you our second map of the day, Vikendi.
Welcome back, everyone, to week number 2 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open. My name is Esquire, joined here by Trid. We had such an incredible game number 1 played out on Sanok.
Yeah, we ended up seeing ourselves a fantastic victory come in for a team that we said needed to show up, Space Station Gaming. We had a quick chat in the break. We definitely think that our performing member, or the most visceral impact we could see, was coming from Helmet.
Yeah, I think hands down, the kill feed essentially was always SSG Helmet, SSG Helmet, SSG Helmet. He had other teammates. Certainly they helped get Space Station Gaming to that chicken dinner, but let's take a look at our head-to-head right now. It's going to be HQA Xiphon versus none other than Helmet. You can sort of get a breakdown on how their performance has sort of shaped up.
Yeah, we were talking about Helmet being a visceral member for his team of Space Station Gaming, but look at the kills coming out from HQA. They were so bloodthirsty that game, and they did it very efficiently. You know, look at the damage coming out in total. They were able to just finish. They didn't play with their food. Let's put it like that, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. Come
Come away with less points. Obviously, they finished in 4th rather than 1st place, which SSG was able to get, but still walking away with 30 points from your first match when we got 3 more ahead of us. Certainly not a bad start.
Yeah, not a bad start whatsoever, especially though for Space Station Gaming. That's what they needed, Trid. We needed to see that performance out of a few teams, and well, they're going to be propelling themselves up the leaderboards with that game right there. But Vikendi, we're switching gears a little bit. We're going from the jungles over to that frozen tundra, and well, things might get a little bit kind of crazy on this 6x6 kilometer map.
Yeah, it's definitely allows more space than what we see on Sanhok, so we don't expect teams to have like 14 teams remaining in a very small circle. Yeah. It's a little bit more spread out. But I feel as though with Vikendi, what we've seen so far is that a lot of teams are, like as we expect, not taking engagements early, barring the odd hot drop that just naturally happens, and that will happen ultimately. Sorry if you're waiting for a passive game. Quite frankly, I prefer to see hot drops.
Yeah, I don't know who's out there waiting for like, man, I really hope this game's going to be... You're watching the wrong
players. The players are.
Oh,
yeah, they want...
Maybe.
They want to get that placement.
Yeah,
maybe they might be a little bit bloodthirsty. But the point with Vikendi is that we see it often come down to the steady income of kills, shall we say.
Right, yeah.
We don't really see super clustered. We had that one map, but there was, I think, 11 teams left in like phase 5. But barring that, Vikendi has been quite consistent with just a regular drop-off, so it's not oversaturated in the final circle.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that Vikendi circle that you're referencing, it landed on a building that sort of allowed multiple teams to see cover, which was kind of crazy. Sort of like what we saw on Sanok just one game ago. That circle was probably one of the more devastating circles for teams to have to work off of, so we'll have to keep our eyes. How are some of the teams that we expected to do very well in that Sanok game, are they going to bounce back off of sort of a difficult performance, a hard performance to start off the night, I think?
Let's have a look at the standings. If we can pull those up quickly, we can just see how Game 1 has shaken these things up already. If we look at the top 16, Space Station Gaming now jumped themselves into 5th place off the back of that already. So then look at the climbing, we were talking about Nova might be the team to dethrone Misfits, but in that race to 1st place, Space Station Gaming, they're on the warpath right now. Yeah,
they certainly are. All teams in your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions, they're not playing tonight, Trid. Yep. They are sitting back at home, they're watching the performance, at least of some of these teams, and Space Station has an opportunity to make a big run towards those top 3 positions of the leaderboard.
I'm looking at Are You Scared as well in there. Method, HQA now joining us in the top 16, which is good for them as they can only get more points from here. There's very rarely an opportunity where a team walks away from a game day with 0 points, shall we say.
Well, we've seen the top 16. Let's take a look at the bottom 16. Maybe a few teams that have to really kick it into gear as we go through this weekend, the final weekend again of these group stages for North America. Well, Trid, if last week you didn't have the performance that you were looking for, you don't have a lot of time anymore. So take a look, guys. Who are your favorite teams, or any of these teams here that you're rooting for, maybe finding themselves on the bottom half?
It's very unfortunate for I'm Your Enemy to only walk away with 2 points when they are the team that needs points the most this week.
Yeah.
So I believe that would have come from their placement. I think they went out in 15th, giving them 2 points.
Right, yeah, so it's 2 points, it's points, okay? That's that's at least something you can say. It's better than going out with 0, but it's not going to be enough to sustain them through this this group stages, all right? They got to get into those top 24 positions, and currently they're on the wrong side of the leaderboard, on the wrong half of the leaderboard.
The wrong quarter of the leaderboard. If you can just get out of that bottom 8, you're fine. That's only criteria you need to hit. We're getting ready to jump into Vikendi about 30 minutes before Wheels Up. 30 minutes? 30 seconds before Wheels Up. Yeah, it's going to be a long... We're in for the long haul here. But no, 30 seconds roughly until we get Wheels Up over into Vikendi. So, Phil, expectations. Are we still keeping an eye on Space Station Gaming to keep a consistent form? Do we think maybe Nova has a better appearance this time around as well? What are we thinking?
So Misfits set the tone at least for map domination in week number 1. We haven't seen another team come in and consistently say, well, it doesn't matter what map we play on, we're prepared. And so I want to see Space Station. I don't want to be repetitive here, right? But I want to see Space Station come in here day number 1 of week 2, say we dominated Sanok. We're going over to Vikendi and we're doing the exact same thing.
All right, well, we're up in the air now, getting those players across the map. Map number 2 of the day, Vikendi. And we're keeping eyes on Space Station Gaming and the rest of the boys to get that first place by the end of the day. Having a look at the flight path for you, east to west, top side of the map.
Right, northern side extremely favored here, at least on this plane's trajectory, which means the south, albeit 6x6 map, might be a little bit hard for some of these teams to get all the way down there to those coastal regions, Milner Winery, as well as the hot springs. We have seen some teams over the course of the last 2 weekends favor this spot. So keep an eye, see if we will get any congestion down there, or if it's really going to stay kind of a centrally clustered game.
G6 loving this flight path, by the way, because they're just basically dropping right next to the flight path. They want to get themselves over there. Cosmodrome getting a lot of attention, though, so you need to be careful of that one. Maybe some teams, now that they see it going on, they're going to bug out, but all those teams dropping on the northern side of the map. Get moving, fellas. You got to get down to the south. First base circle popping in the southwest around Dino Park and Abbey.
And this is where our teams that jumped out of the plane and stayed in that parachute flight, they weren't hard committing to anywhere. They were able to see the first zone pop, and now they can make those much needed adjustments. But over here, we have the Pittsburgh Knights in that Cosmodrome area. This is a team you were mentioning, Trid, a team that needs some pretty stellar performances here today. Well, Jagger is going to be under fire. He put out some damage onto Marvis and Phi, but he's not able to get any much needed knocks. The pressure going to be reapplied, though, with the ump. He's able to find at least a few connections, dropping down Phi to about 30 HP.
I was really concerned there because we only saw him holding a pumpy. I was like, how are you going to take that fight from that range? But just going to be locked down by Phi, who I believe is trying to med up or just hold this angle for now, buying time for Ignite Gold to go and get some more resources to take what seems to be an inevitable fight as they get control of Cosmodrome away from Pittsburgh Knights.
When you have to think, certainly the circle on the opposite end of Vikendi of the Cosmodrome, how much time can both of these teams really afford to kind of linger in this area? They can't just be concerned about one another. There are 14 other teams here in the lobby that they might be crossing the face of as they make their way from north to south.
Just probably going to have more of a standoff in the Cosmodrome for now. Having a look at the map, no one's really in the circle yet apart from Home Alone. The rest of the teams are starting to make their way in now. Got a little bit more time to play around with. Latinos Unidos on your screens right now. They are in the general vicinity of another team. They're actually trading fire, or at least you can see the bullets going across their screen right now as cover needed to be taken by Chacho.
And it is going to be found. It's none other than Lights Out Memo all the way off there to the north, where they are currently seeking shelter behind this shack, popping off some very, very good pressure. But you have to be concerned. I do not see any other members from Lights Out near where Memo's position is, but the ultimate retreat will be had. Chacho and the rest of the crew going to be popping out some smokes, trying to get the concealment But he is going to be taking a peek around the right-hand side of this shack, maybe going to be spotting out Memo in a retreat as well, but doesn't catch him.
So here's the thing, right? You're looking at Memo, but behind you right now is Rolex. So you're about to be pincered by 2 players. If you're Chacho, you've got nowhere to hide right now if Rolex decides to go on the push here. You just see him, he's off to the right a little bit further right of him, and he's taking shots now from Memo, who's opened it up. He's got to be calling Rolex to come and have a look at this himself.
Yeah, certainly, and this is almost a situation that we saw similar to game number 1 for Lights Out. They engaged a little bit spread apart, and they weren't able to necessarily support each other, and Memo went down first. Will that be the same story here, because Memo is all alone, no support, at least readily available, as his other members are starting to at least make that trek near him. Rolex and Seagut and the UAZ going to be bombing down south.
Getting themselves into the circle to go and rejoin outside of 9K, who's already found himself in there. They are leaving Memo in that position, potentially just to be a nuisance for Latinos Unidas. I don't think they wanted to go in there and try and help him. Obviously, with Outsider being too far away, it'd take too long to get the reinforcements in for the 4v4, but Memo's happy to take the fight, even gets the knock on Chacho. The patient assassin up in the hills on the roof, shooting down Chacho, even getting the flush off the back of this, just one more tap, and there it is. Memo, solo operator, taking out one nice and early from Latinos Unidos.
Certainly, but he sort of poked the hornet's nest there. Will Latinos Unidos respond off of this, or will they try to disengage entirely? Certainly, they didn't hear a lot of gunshots coming out. They can almost work off of the impression that there is going to be just a solo player here from that Lights Out squad. But again, the unknown is terrifying here in PUBG Mobile, and Latinos Unidos going to take this opportunity to get out of Dodge. Another team, though, that we're looking to see some big performances out of this weekend, the final weekend of the group stages, it's going to be Cream, Kira, going to be making their way down south, trying to get into the centralized area of phase number 1.
You just look at the map here. Memo's called Lights Out to come back to them. Outside of 9K is getting the Jeep to go and pick him up and get him back to safety, so he doesn't have to take the fight against Latinos Unidos. Because, like you said, they've stirred up the hornet's nest potentially here. So, going to get him out quite safely, potentially even look to take the fight if they're feeling brave enough. But all we know is we've got transport going in to get him back to safety and into the circle. But no, Seagut and Rolex are coming up on this fight as well. Latinos Unidos are about to get pincered by Lights Out.
Revo better be ready for the impending push that is certainly starting to encircle him on the mini-map. You see the members of Lights Out, but it's going to be Nova. Actually, Sam picking up a nice knock on one of the members of Pittsburgh Knights. 7 will be popped out of the vehicle and will be flushed out of the game. The Micro Uzi, again, one of the more favored weapons here in PUBG Mobile, will be ringing true for one of the members of Nova here in the early game.
So unfortunate for Pittsburgh Knights. They've gone for a 2-2 split. Monarch is in the area with Nova, obviously, who's driving the vehicle, going scouting ahead. You got Wi-Fi and 7 by the Cosmodrome. They're going to be heading down now, and they've just lost one of their members because they couldn't take a full-strength fight when they went for the scout, and they just went straight into Nova, who are ready and willing to capitalize on a gifted kill.
And Nova, one of the fan favorites here in the PUBG Mobile Club Open tournament, certainly trying to do whatever they can to climb those leaderboards. You saw Kato in game number 1, the insurance policy for this Nova team in the water, was able to at least save their placements a little bit, but now they've got all 4 alive and will continue to trek across the frozen map of Vikendi as far as possible, hopefully to that chicken dinner position. As we look at our 3rd place team from game number 1, it's going to be Method, posturing over here on the far northwestern side of Vikendi. They've got a long rotation to make Trid, and I don't think it's going to be easy. A lot of teams are already ahead of them as far as that goes.
They have got 2 vehicles. They've got G-Bay and Everfury coming in to pick them up and transport them. So hopefully they'll be able to make that rotation and not fall victim to the same trap that Pittsburgh Knights did when they ran into Nova, who they themselves are slowly working down to that circle as well, as it's going to start coming in. It has been, and we're going to end up, like I said, very clustered. And we talked at the beginning how we could often see a steady stream of kills coming out of Vikendi and not having hyper congested phases, but looking at where the circle is and how much action needs to be, or how many players need to be just be condensed into that small area, yeah, we're probably going to see an accelerated rate of kills coming in.
Yeah, I think that's likely a solid observation as to what we will see, what this match holds for us in the early to mid-game phases. Method recovering off of a bit of a vehicular accident here, certainly one that is known to PUBG Mobile users all over. That's one thing that's synonymous. Anyone that has played PUBG Mobile knows that those vehicle accidents can certainly happen, as long as you're there, though, to support your teammates afterwards and make sure there's no hard feelings, no tilt that you have to then try to harness throughout the rest of the game. Silent Killers rolling up, able to secure a nice compound as well as vehicles for themselves to make further rotations here in this game, as Felix Just tries to loot up, get a little bit of a last loot infusion before this battle starts to pop off across the map.
He was looking pretty good right there. He got himself a level 3 vest. He had himself the level 2 helmet. I mean, it's looking pretty bad for Mitz right now. He's still walking away with the motorcycle, so maybe try and find something a little bit more protective for him, especially when you've got the likes of Helmet running around in the game for Space Station, who is very gladly able to take those clean off your heads.
The winery, one of those far southern locations that we talked about at the onset of the game, going to be occupied by Lights Out as well as Home Alone over here. Going to be making their own move. Home Alone at the very bottom of the leaderboard, certainly they're ahead of one or two teams, but they need some big performances. Again, the task is not too difficult. You only have to be in those top 24 teams, and down there at the bottom of the leaderboards, there is a lot of opportunity for movement should you come up with one or two solid games throughout the rest of the weekend.
Well, before yesterday, Home Alone only had 5 points to their name. So they've already racked up some from the previous matchup, and these are one of the teams who, if they don't start performing today on their second game day, I don't see how they get out of the bottom 8 and get themselves into the semifinals.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Essentially, for some of these bottom teams, they don't have to worry about kills. It really comes down to just getting a bulk of points very quickly.
Yeah.
And, well, you can do that by trying to snake your way into one of those top 5 placements. I think that's really where you need to be if you're one of the members or really the team of Home Alone. You need to maybe come up with 10 points per game for the rest of the tournament to at least be safe, or almost safe, I guess, in terms of not getting kicked out going into the semifinals next week.
And after today, we'll kind of get a greater understanding of what the cutoff or what the threshold is of points that you need to stay in that top 24 and move on to the next, well, the following week's competition, because we go straight to the semifinals after this week of play. So we'll get a better understanding as the days go on. We're on board with Method right now, just taking some cover, and they're in a very central position just now around Dino Park. Or Dino Park, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, not a bad spot for them to be in. It's one of the certainly unique spots where unique features of this Vikendi map are possibly even in the entirety of PUBG Mobile. So do they know it well enough? I think that's the biggest question. Should another team posture inside of Dino Park? Will they have the knowledge to maneuver it and outsmart their opponents? Taking a look, though, over at this rotation, it's going to be none other than Nova off to the far east of circle number 1, trying to go from east to west as they pass north of the winery, avoiding enemies altogether, at least so far. But we might see that change as they start to get closer and closer to that center point where a number of teams have started to at least congregate.
Ozwy is still in the blue. He's in Peshkova for some reason by himself. The rest of G6 are in the circle, got themselves a tasty little compound. I can't work out if this is an intentional just sticking around for additional loot, but I don't think he has a vehicle either, so I think Ozwy is just out of the game.
Certainly might be out of the game for this one, not out of the tournament yet, and G6 has had some pretty stellar performances over the course of the last 2 weeks. You're going to be hopeful for what they can put together in this game, as well as the final 2 games of the day coming up next over on Erangel. But let's focus on the task at hand. What can Nova do here as we start to at least get a good idea of how the landscape will shape up here on Vikendi? Next circle is going to be popping here very shortly. And well, these teams are going to have to make adjustments. Who's going to be safe and who is going to have to go through obstacle after obstacle in the form of 4-man squads?
In terms of where teams were set up, that was probably the most useless phase change circle I've seen. Like, you're gonna have Latinos Unidas and I'm Your Enemy come into the area, but there's plenty of space on that northwestern side for them to work with. So this circle doesn't force conflict. If you look what HQA is doing, they're just making a beeline through all these teams right now. That's not because the circle changed. They were just going to do that anyway when they came into the phase 1. So the circle's not going to change up the action too much. It's what's already been set in motion from previous events.
Exactly. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on any teams on the edges of this previous circle to see if they want to make adjustments. If you are trying to go center, even more center than you already are, you're likely going to find yourself in a bit of a trap. A lot of teams will be looking down on you. As we take a look at Ignite, they're going to be rolling through this little bit of a compound, trying to get a last loot infusion before they continue on their path. But all 16 teams, Trid, still remaining here. We've seen 4 players go out. It's been a very, very quiet early game here on Vikendi.
Yeah, speaking of players who are going out, Ignite Gold, they lost Vi, as you've already pointed out. One too many engagements for him and the rest of Ignite Gold, so after this loot infusion, they're sitting in the northeast side. They've not really got any teams around them. They're in one part of the less congested area of this circle. I'm Your Enemy about to make that rotation in past Movatra. And they're going to be able to get themselves into the circle. You're looking at the Yellow West, it's actually Cream who have been looking and watching that angle to the northwest, and I think that's going to be who they have most difficulty with if they try and find a more central position when they breach.
Edge play certainly won't be favoring any of these teams given how crowded the centralized area of the zone is as HQA's Hunzi and the rest of his team start to depart where they have been holding up inside of this compound. Car is going to be piled into and quickly sending it to try to find a better spot to go. But where will that better spot be? And has another team already gotten there? It's going to be Home Alone actually lighting up the kill feed onto one of the members of Lights Out. Memo, we saw him, the solo player, off away from his team earlier on to start off the game. And now going to be finding his demise as we reach into the mid.
Taking this skirmish around Winery. You can really see Insane going for the heals. Memo still knocked down, but there's P-Win. Just going to get dropped. Sega on that ridge with Rolex, applying pressure and protecting the rest of Lights Out, while outside of 9K tries to get the res onto Memo and bring him back into the game.
Solid positioning right now coming out from Lights Out. They've essentially choked out any type of retreat that Home Alone could possibly attempt to make here as Insane going to be under a lot of pressure. P-Win still bleeding out. They're not able to find any type of safe opportunity to get the res, but the smokes are being deployed. The concealment has been at least hidden inside of as Insane sticks the res onto his teammate. They're likely going to be able to get up, but can they disengage off of this? Because here comes the push. Lights Out are aggressing upon this. They know exactly what team they're facing off against. They saw it in the kill feed, and well, Lights Out wants to capitalize and pick up 4 kills.
Yeah, you might be a bit of a punchline to a couple of these teams with your current performance so far. So if they see something they can abuse, they're going to go for it. As Memo lights on the spray up onto himself, but outside 9K, still going to get knocked down. So you shouldn't be joking around with this Home Alone team. They're getting knocks and retreating. They don't want this fight, it appears, and they're just going to be relentlessly pursued by Lights Out unless anything changes.
And I want to see Lights Out. Are they so caught up in this engagement that they don't have at least the mindset to say, guys, we're losing too much here. We've already had 2 knocks. We're losing the war of attrition, not just versus Home Alone, but versus the entirety of the lobby. And will we have to get out of Dodge? Home Alone now all posturing. All guns are trained on this garage where the members of Lights Out are trying to hide inside of P-Win, fully recovered now off of that knock where he was just a few seconds ago. But who's going to come up on top of this? I mean, we talked about it. This might be an opportunity for Lights Out to pick up some kills on the Home Alone. But in this 32-team lobby, the best 32 teams from North America, well, no one is going to be light work. Everyone is going to be putting up resistance.
P-Win's holding the angle. Insane is now retreated further back to the rest of his team in between Galaxy and Plan B. You see Memo's going for the flank on the left-hand side. But he's been spotted out by Galaxy. We'll take the shots. Trading blows. No one's going to feel too much of a pain from that one, but it has caused Galaxy to lose this angle he was holding, and it forces a reposition from Insane to come and reinforce that right flank.
Yeah, you saw Gut from Lights Out also reposition, trying to just cover whatever is being presented to him from this southeastern angle that Home Alone has now taken up. Rolex, though, continuing to watch this wall, waiting for P-Win to peek up and show himself, but Plan B has the angle held as well. Rolex isn't going to be spotting out Plan B there. He's actually spotting out Insane over in the centralized area of this compound that the repositions will be popping off here. Who is going to catch who? As this battle rages on, phase number 3 in full effect, though no one really too upset by where this circle lands. Especially these 2 teams are going to be safe and at least spending a little bit more time here as Memo makes that reposition in the vehicle.
Insane, under a lot of pressure right now, has to take cover and start healing up. He's taking too much pressure from Lights Out as he tries to open up onto Memo, who's taken this vehicle round. Hopefully wants to get a couple of members in there to get out or just cause a distraction, or thankfully just get into a better position to reinforce his team, because this skirmish is still at a stalemate. No team is backing off from this one, because it looked like Home Alone were going to go into full retreat, but they want to mark their ground on this territory.
If you look in the southeastern corner of the minimap, you can see Galaxy, that player number you can see a team name rather, 17. He's starting to make a flank around that southeastern side, even further off that he was pushed previously before that flank was exposed. Might be able to catch one of the members of Lights Out off guard, but Outsider 9K continues to watch that area. He's not going to let anyone advance up that open road onto where he is currently holding, making sure that Seagut is fully protected with that bolt action sniper.
And Memo still in this building, just looking around, and Plan B and P-Win have not moved from these 2 angles. They're confident in them, but now here comes the loadout. Lights Out just jumping into the vehicle. They're going to cut their
Smart
losses.
play.
They're just going, you know what, this is taking too much time. We're burning too many resources. We're not going to get anything done. Let's just leave. And the onus is now on Home Alone to recognize that and use this time they've been given, or use this space they've been given more accurately.
Exactly, and it's not a lot of space either. They have to be at least aware of the fact that this map isn't too big. There isn't a lot of open area to take up, but Lights Out going to be crashing by, or at least scouting this compound, where 4 of the members of Blinded by Wind have taken up shelter. Something gave those 2 members of Lights Out the impression that it was going to be occupied, and away they go. As one of the members of Cream, Munoz, going to be completely caught out by Team Enemy, using that third-person perspective to try to peek over the wall and spot out his opponents, but no movement whatsoever.
They're watching where that next circle is going to come into, because they're just basically playing gatekeeper now to I'm Your Enemy. They know that they're going to have to pass through them. They've got a good read on who's in front of them, and they can just hold this. They're in such a favorable position right now. I'm Your Enemy going to have an engagement forced on them, and they try and either go north, south, just to try and find a new entry point into the circle. Cream can then potentially take a firefight while they're transitioning to those different positions, or they might just try and force them to take an straight up fight and brute force through the middle, go through them, and end up just taking an unfavorable engagement.
We'd be remiss if we did not mention the fact that these circle shifts, at least up until phase number 4, where we're at now, has not been deadly. No team has really had to make a major reposition, which is why we have 16 teams still remaining, almost an entire lobby still alive. But that's quickly going to change here as Team Enemy going to be spotted out. Cream's Munoz now raining down hellfire in the form of grenades right up on top of their position. And while he's got the backup help of his teammates, Cheto, as well as Karma, trying to provide that Overwatch help as the shots continue to ring out. Enemy feeling the pressure, but also trying to return. Trying to just keep a buffer zone in between them, but the damage continues to be applied.
This is actually big. Like, what Cream were able to pick up there were heavily damaged the vehicles. If they tried to make the rotation in the vehicles, they would just be sitting ducks and they would just get absolutely decimated, or they might not even have use of it. As the blue creeps in, it's forcing I'm Your Enemy's hands to come into Cream's territory, and like we've already said, that's so unfavorable for them. Just going to take painkillers for now, try and give themselves as many meds as possible. Look at the split they've gone for instead. Half of their squad is running straight into Cream while they're tanking blue. King G is not going to be able to get through this. Is Parker going to get a knock onto Sega, but Munoz just holding this angle. King G trying to play it safe. They've spotted him out. He's running across. Surely Munoz is going to go for this one. Now spray down onto King G. Won't find the shot. Gets a couple tags, but he's locked him down. He's willing to tank the blue to try and get this kill. This is the lone... the weakest of the pack, so to speak. He's just going to be picked off by the Tigers trying to find this Bison, and he's just going to be left there to the wins by the rest of I'm Your Enemy, who have to flank heavily south to find a safe route into the circle.
Even more critical about this engagement is the fact that I'm Your Enemy is at the bottom of the global leaderboards in 32nd place, dead last. They need these points more than any other team in this lobby, and Will, those points are going to be driving away from you. Yes, they were able to disengage, but no teams have gone out just yet. You go out now, well, you're going to be going out in 16th with 0 points to your name, and now Cream has made the rotation inside of the circle, and they're going to be turning around, possibly trying to gatekeep the squad of I'm Your Enemy still off to the west inside of the blue zone as we pop over here to Method. Method's Clay going to have that nice ghillie suit. He's essentially going to be invisible on the map unless he makes major movements, but they are going to be caught out on the northern side of what is amounted to phase number 5 of game number 2.
He's still leaving a contingency of Cream players there to keep an eye on where King G was trying to go in. Now you can see you've got VN1 in that barn. I believe that was actually the location of one of our final rounds on a couple of previous game days. Just going to hold that down for now. Are you scared? Not very far off of that Cream Esports NA lineup. They're just over to the southeast, and I don't know if they're aware of what's happening right now with I'm Your Enemy and Cream Esports, but they could definitely capitalize here if they were to catch wind of the shenanigans.
Continuing to just keep an eye on those angles over here into the Abbey area. We see that Lights Out is still stuck amongst conflict. It's going to be the members of Ignite Gold in the compound just off to the west of where they're currently holding 2 teams dangerously close by, and another team, team number 4, it's going to be Pittsburgh Knights rolling through just north, about 30 meters away from where this compound is, taking some attention off of Lights Out, but it's quickly put back onto them by the members of Ignite Gaming. Outsider 9K starting to at least push up a little bit. No helmet to their name. One nicely placed shot to the dome will be a one-tap dirt net for this player. As they continue on, those shots will be ringing out. It's going to be Outsider 9K with the first knock of this engagement, and Lights Out has the upper hand.
Looking to get the flush onto that one for Marvis. See Queep moving forward. There's going to be a spray down in this lobby. They got so many good crossfire lines of sight here. Seager presses forward, but all by himself, just sprayed down as he emerges just to get cut down by Lights Out. Solid engagement taken by them. 2 knocks. They're going to get him back in the game. And there's no teams in here to third party this. They're going to be absolutely fine.
Lights Out with a full secure on the eastern side of phase number 5. They had to take this fight, and they came out victorious with 4 kills to their name. 2 members bleeding out. They got to quickly get them rezzed and now worry about the rest of the lobby. 14 teams remaining, 48 players alive as we pass that 20-minute mark, and HQA is looking to frag out. They've held this southern part of the circle for a while, and they've got Space Station Gaming in their eyes. Juicy going to be dropped down and knocked, and that is going to be all she wrote, actually. Space Station Gaming entirely eliminated in 14th place. Our victors from game 1, Trit.
They do not have the Misfits magic with them this time, unfortunately. Won't be going for those sequential map victories. As we see Cream finally opening up onto enemy, picking off the stragglers. They went for the engagement. It wasn't to be, and Cream Esports are going to be dealing with them quite handily as things stand. But enemy turning it back around onto them. It's Nova trying to take this engagement with Blinded by Wind. Nearly got Manny, and there's the knock coming through for him. They're still just opening up onto this ridge. Edwin, with the scope, trying to find a better movement here. They disabled the vehicle. Just going to keep him in that cover. Jagger as well. Smoke everywhere. Care package even dropping in the middle of these 2 teams. Method and Pittsburgh Knights locked inside a compound with VN1 as well. Just going to be throwing out smoke to suppress and buy themselves time to get these reses back. They've already lost 7. They don't want to lose any more.
Well, let's just bring another team into the mix. It's going to be none other than HQA bombing in, and Wi-Fi, the IGL for Pittsburgh Knights. He's got dead on sights onto these members of HQA. Going to be getting a nice knock, but the other members inside of this compound will be spraying down. It is blowing up here in this side of the map. The southeastern corner will be a hotbed for destruction, and it's going to quickly turn into a graveyard as these teams start to battle.
HQA is actually just saved Pittsburgh Knights there. By going in and creating so much noise, it's just enabled Wi-Fi to come in here and get the res onto Monarch and onto Jagger and bring them back into the map. VN1 kind of split on where their attention is right now. They're still holding this compound down. You've got HQA in here in this party just causing so much chaos. Hunzi has gone down, but you've got Kuang still locked up, ready to go and ready to fight. But now they could be potentially pincered by Pittsburgh Knights, who are starting to recover. When you see other engagements happening across the map, Lights Out fighting with Method right now, and they're trading kills back and forth. But it looks like Method's starting to get the edge here, and maybe might get third party if not too careful, because there's still a lot of teams in this one. 12 teams to be precise, still in this very small circle.
A lot of teams in this one, but the play area is so incredibly small. 5 teams inside of this compound. Method up on the hill, Lights Out moving in, and now Nova trying to crash dead center inside of the circle. They knew what was in front of them, and they can't worry about it whatsoever as Lucas from VN1 tries to eye down the Pittsburgh Knights on the opposite side of the rock. Wi-Fi and the rest of the crew will be trying to lay down some smokes to try to disengage off of this pit.
They already took down Monarch. That's why they're leaving now. They throw the smoke and scurry out like rats trying to get into the vehicle and leave. But Rolex is going to be under pressure right now. Jagger even downed right now. Wi-Fi has to try and get to safety. I think he's made the call to play for placement. This is too hot for them to do anything. Jagger is just a sacrificial lamb at this point.
As we try to get a grasp of this area, it's absolutely insane. You can see how many different teams have a presence inside of this late game circle of game number 2. Lights Out trying to recover off of this, left with 2 players to their name, Outsider 9K and Memo, but Memo is being pushed. Everfury from Method around the right side of the rock will be spotting out Memo with some quick snap of the AKM. Down goes one of Lights Out remaining members.
This is not good for Outsider 9K. He's tanky blue right now, having to use first aid, can't show himself. Everyone knows he's there. Pride's just keeping a look at that angle. He's not tanking in the blue though. The longer this goes on, the worse it's going to be for Outsider 9K. He has to take a shot now, catches him when he's not looking in the right angle, will get the flush onto that, and I think he accepts he's going down. He was just looking for kills at that point. He got 1 before he was finally ended by the blue zone.
Making the best of a bad situation is exactly what Lights Out was able to do right there. You applaud those efforts because sure, getting a knock might be somewhat easy, but securing that flush is almost impossible as a solo player. Next shift has gone all the way to the northeast, a hard shift where our teams all the way down to the south are going to have a bit of a transition. I see Nova down there. Are you scared? Cream solo player, Pittsburgh Knights. Some teams that have a lot on the line are going to have to pull out some major stops here in this game.
And that engagement was costly for Method because they were holding a really good position in that circle, and now they're playing with weakened strength. They got 2 members to their name, I believe, and G6, they're in the area. They're going to hold over to the west instead. They got eyes on King G here. The guy we fought from I'm Your Enemy was going to end up being the first to be slaughtered. He's actually the survivor, the leader of the pack, able to get himself into this game and play for that placement. Smoke coming in to provide some cover, just concerned about Latina's Unadas being able to spray down to a Lushy who's going very aggressive onto them. King G taking a few shots at him, but the return fire coming in. Yayo got his back. He's just shooting straight and causing that suppressive fire to lock down and make sure Lushy can get into this better position to deal with Latinos Unidos.
Trid, I don't know what you have in this frozen area. I don't know if snakes exist in the snow, but there is certainly creeping its way up near the members of Latinos Unidos. The shot's going to be coming out, the grenades being thrown, the Molotovs trying to zone off this push coming out of G6, but they're not able to do anything just yet as they have their sights aimed down onto King G on the opposite side of the rock. Keep in mind, the solo player from this I'm Your Enemy squad has so much to gain here from placements in game number 2.
He's walking straight to Yayo, though. He's just going to spray him down.
And out
that was
go.
Unfortunate.
9th place. That's not a lot of points, Trid. Certainly not as many as they're going to need here.
He's going to start getting them on the leaderboards, though. That's the most important thing.
That is, yeah.
Alushi got this cover down. He's going to get a loot infusion donated quite kindly by I'm Your Enemy. As you see Key taking the thing. How has G-Bay and Bucky not run into each other? G-Bay's just in the smoke.
You know, they say where there's smoke, there's fire, and
there's no fire.
There's generally a player, though. Where there's smoke, there's likely going to be a player. Latinos Nito is going to be spotting out another team here on that northern side. It's going to be G6 wiped out to the hands of Latinos Unidos, who now have that northeastern position, but they've got to go all the way down south. Phase number 8 has popped, and well, the shots are coming out as methods. Everfury, the rest of the squad, G-Bay still undetected on the backside of this rock. VN1 could get ripped through by a solo player from Method, and just destroy their hopes and dreams here with 5 teams remaining.
They're the only full-strength squad. They've got 9 kills as well. G-Bay, if he picks his time right, he'll be able to do it. Surely VN1 are going to be clued up that a new smoke has just been deployed here. So they're going to figure out something's going on around there. But you've got Method, you've got Are You Scared with a solo player? Latinos Unidos have 2, but it's VN1 with a full-strength squad. You're expecting him to take it. But if they don't know about G-Bay and he comes in and starts picking them off from behind when they're in the middle of an engagement, he can just clutch victory away from them.
Trid, and this is just a mistake in awareness from VN1 right now. You nailed it on the head. They have to be aware of the fact that there is not perpetual smoke in this game. Something is creating this concealment on the southern side, and well, it is going to be Meth. It's G-Bay. He's in the vehicle. I mean, hell, he's been able to deceive the entirety of VN1.
He's going to go for the knocks.
Can he get the knock? Oh, the car sends it. He's able to get the knock on the Clonus. One of the members of Latinos Unidos goes down to vehicular manslaughter. Thankfully, though, he's got his teammate Mattias there to pick up the res, but VN1 is in hot pursuit. Lucas in the ghillie suit going to be trying to spray down any of his enemies that he sees, and sure enough, they're going to be able to find Latinos Unidos out. It's just going to be Are You Scared versus the members of VN1.
Just needs to find one member. The spray down's going to be there. VN1 take that victory. They must have just slipped him a 20 or something. Here, you've got to die. Just drive and try to see if you can hit someone on the other side of the map. Like, you get away from us. Because that just set VN1 up so easily to just capitalize on Latinos Unidos. Take out that 2-man squad because they were busy trying to find their footing after just being knocked by a car on what was essentially a suicide mission from G-Bay.
Yeah, Trid, you know, a lot of people ask, what's the deadliest weapon in PUBG? Well, I'm of the opinion that it's always going to be a vehicle. Vehicles are the deadliest weapon in PUBG. You look at what weapon has the highest KD, or rather kill count of any other weapon in PUBG. Well, it's certainly going to be either the motorbike or the UAZ, and I love to see it right there. Full send it, it's a torpedo.
It was his swan song, his final message of the game.
Clip it.
Yeah, clip it, definitely. Him just charging down and basically winning the game for VN1. Not his own team, but it did get him a good placement. He did finish off 4th for Method, so still keeps them in the rotation. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to move into the second half of our broadcast and close out with a double serving of Erangel.
Welcome back, everyone, to week number 2 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open. We are halfway done with day 1 of week 2, and Trid, we're about to hop into Erangel. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, this is the map that's the most important one in our circuit so far because you have a total of 3 game days. You're playing 4 maps in those game days, total of 12 maps. Stay with me now, we're doing some math. 6 out of those 12, 50% of them just on Erangel alone. So if you can get Erangel right, you're going to be absolutely fine. You can easily get top 24 if you can just nail Erangel and mess up the others.
Yeah, and by virtue of Erangel being the longest standing map for PUBG Mobile, it might be a little bit difficult. A lot of these teams have honed those strategies specifically for this map. So, we'll see. Certainly some teams have shown dominant presence, at least on Erangel, and not so much on other maps. It might be a bit of a switch up, or we might see some team just come in here day number 1 of week 2 and clean up the shop like Misfits did in week 1.
Let's take a look back though, Vikendi. If you're just joining us in, that's the map we just had. Let's pull up a player we want to highlight. Not necessarily because he was the best performing fragger, but because he had a very gutsy moment where a particular vehicle is, of course, G-Bay and the person who was on the receiving end. So if you look at the damage dealt, not so much. Same with the kills, same with the headshots, but the distance. And I'm pretty sure the vehicular manslaughter that occurred was occurring in that 10.2k kilometer distance.
Same with the damage done. Same with the damage done. I mean, stats on stats on stats. It doesn't matter how you pick up those kills, how you pick up those knocks, as long as you're doing it, Trid.
Yeah, let's have a look at the 2 teams representative. Oh no, we're not going to go with that head-to-head. Really, we just wanted to see the vehicular manslaughter.
I mean, yeah, the important part was the 2 players. You know, Latinos Unidos, sorry to highlight it, of course. Method, we had to. G-Bay, what a play.
Yeah, it's fantastic play on Vikendi. Let's focus now onto Erangel itself. Before we acknowledge the fact that we got VN1 with a first place finish and Space Station Gaming have a first place finish on Sanhok and Vikendi. Still 2 more maps. Erangel, what are we going to see here, Phil?
Okay, so we saw double-digit kills from both of our victors in games 1 and 2. I don't see any shifts going off of that. I expect high kill wins, whoever it's going to be, because again, this is or at least 2 lobbies that don't have a lot of experience with each other going head-to-head. Who's going to maybe have some issues on those drops? I'm going to keep my eyes on those. Those are always sort of, whenever you have 2 groups that haven't had a lot of experience together, you always want to be cognizant of where those drops are and what are the points of conflict.
Yeah. And that's going to be interesting to see. We already know of a hot drop location in groups A and C.
Yeah.
In group C in particular, I believe it's trying to think who it is. It's Shoguns and another team keep hot dropping on Pachinki, and they keep fighting each other, and they often it's Shoguns losing.
I think Unnamed was one of the teams that kept going to Pachinki.
That was it's Unnamed and Shoguns. Unnamed always keeping control.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll probably see something similar happen maybe this week, just because the teams don't have the most amount of familiarity with each other. That's what it comes down to, right? It's knowing what you want to do, but what does your opponent want to do, and are you going to respect it? Are you going to contest it? Are you feeling your chances? Do you feel like weak in the early? Like, let's maybe try and find something else. These teams are going to have backup drops. It's whether they want to utilize them.
Yeah, you don't just need a backup drop in case another team goes there. You also need backup drops in case the plane path doesn't favor you. Again, popping over to Erangel, the largest of the PUBG maps, the same size as Miramar, 8 by 8 kilometers. You're not going to be able to soar across the entirety of Erangel should the plane path favor one of the polar sides. So keep that in mind. Always have a backup plan, and possibly even 2, in case your other backup plan ends up being inhabited by another team.
Plan C through D, but we're moving on to Plan E for Erangel as the flight is flying across the map. Trying to pull up that map and have a trajectory check for you. It's flying from northwest to southeast, and it's relatively central, just a little bit further to the southwest.
Yeah, all things considered, it could be a lot worse. I think there's a bit of a sigh of relief inside of that plane right now as our players start hopping out, that they're going to be able to at least nail those drop locations as close as possible, as you already see a few teams jumping out very early on. We might see that Zarki area, not an area that sees a lot of action, but by virtue of that, it could almost be safe for one of these teams to go off to the northwest and grab it.
It hasn't been utilized a lot in the past weeks, and I think that's been mainly down to flight paths, but now it is an option for them, like we've already said. Ignite Gold are heading far north. They're probably going to take over Zarki and claim that as their own. This plane's moving further south. I don't think anyone is still in it right now. They've all gone for their split. I'm just going to take over mainly the north side of the map. You've got Silent Killers moving down further south. They may go for Millie if they're feeling brave. Actually, no. Are You Scared? They're the people still in the plane. So is Latinos Unidos. They're dropping around the military island area.
And you know, Sosnovka Island, the military island, used to be a fairly popular place for teams to drop. We've seen that sort of change as time has gone on because teams do not like crossing from south to north. A lot of bridge camping can take place. A lot of gatekeeping opportunities present themselves. And, well, that circle will be popping. And if you did head down to Military Island, you'll be feeling at least somewhat okay, more okay than Ignite Gold all the way off there to the northwest in Zarki. But Nova, we see them time and time, Trid. This is something for the viewers at home to keep in mind. Nova loves this Novo area of the map, that eastern part of Sosnovka Island. They have gone there every single time. I'm fairly safe to say it's theirs, but what issues might that present to some teams trying to cross from north to south?
A lot of issues, but team that's having more issues to themselves is Space Station Gaming. They've already had a knock and a flush against them. Sixless already departing us in the early hours of this match. It's not looking good for them right now, and they're in... This is a team that had a great start today, but they were a team we were looking to potentially knock Misfits off the top spot. They're not going to be able to do that now with this performance because they're just not getting any placement points if they're hindered. Yes, it doesn't mean that Space Station Gaming have been completely removed, but you're playing an entire round with 3 members now.
Exactly. The strategy has to shift, although not so much, it still has to shift. You're going to have 1 player less to watch those flanks, but Space Station Gaming in the kill feed, you can see they're returning it right back on top of G6. That's going to be 2 knocks, a flush coming in for a Lushy as well. So Space Station, yes, they lost a little bit, but it looks like they're going to be coming out of that engagement on top of things, at least for right now. But over here, Latinos Unidos, Matias is going to be lining up very dangerously nearby to another team here in this lobby. It's going to be Are You Scared? Well, certainly Latinos Unidos is not necessarily scared, but a little bit just aware of the presence over to the west.
Gonna leap out that window, go around the side, and change up the angles. I don't think Are You Scared are necessarily aware, but they are sharing this territory, and it's Milta that seems to be where they've split it all out. And gonna have Jiatu just looking around. Was it J Tattoo? He wasn't playing last week.
No, TJ Tattoo.
TJ Tattoo it is.
Tattoo. But again, Trid, Milta is an area that we have seen contested in previous lobbies so far here in the group stages, so you have to at least keep this in mind as the tournament continues to progress, not even just for this group stages, but also as we move into the semifinals over the next 2 weeks as well. Tempo Storm is a team that just stands out in my mind as a team that likes to go Milta, and here it comes from north to south. The shots will be erupting as Latinos Unidos spots out one of the members of Are You Scared?
Chacho taking cover. He's going to go up onto the rooftop to give himself a better angle. TJ Tattoo is looking in that general area. It's like a line. They're playing across the grid line right now perfectly. You got Revo and Clonus just hiding down in the same building, and the rest of Are You Scared are very separated, but they're still splitting into these 2-and-2 skirmishes. They're separating it out. No one's going for the full 4-man fight.
A lot of damage still being applied, though. It looks like Vutra Cow has been knocked down to about 80% HP. It's just Chow off there in the distance. There's a bit of a chase happening on the northern side of the road as teams are trying to posture themselves inside of this building, trying to avoid any difficult angles that could serve deadly to them as this battle continues on. A bit of a standstill, though, as 2 of the members of Team Latinos Unidos are pulling off. But they're going to be spotted right in the open. It's going to be Revo taking a lot of damage. The M416 shots of Mighty will be ringing true, dropping down that player from Latinos Unidos to about 20 HP as they make their way to safety.
Knowing that they're covered from that angle, it's given them the confidence to try and get into a favorable position to take the 2v2 fight. He's going to go for the spray down. Mighty getting knocked down there. Easy pickup for Mateus with the micro Uzi as TJ Tattoo now in a 2v1 situation. He thinks he's got the drop on those 2 players, but it turns out they have. Plays around the cover. Waiting for the right time. The flank's coming in. They're going to try and get the knock. Cow has got a knock onto Mateus. So they're changing this around. Rather than being a 2v2 fight, they're going for a 3v1. Nice spray down from Chacho. Finds TJ Tattoo. Just going to camp the corpse. Maybe he can wait for some reinforcements, but gets the flush regardless. Mateus is still knocked for them, but Clonus is in a vehicle. He's probably going to head over there now and get the reinforcements to try and help in this engagement. Cow still trying to find something here. Is Chacho under fire. Mighty sitting knocked at the moment. There's going to be another knockdown. Only Revo might be able to get back into this one. TJ Tattoo's been knocked. They got Cow back up. Mighty still in the house as Mateus is trying to escape with his life. As the rest of the Latinos Unidos are coming back in, having lost Chacho. Revo and Clonus might try and salvage what they can from this fight.
The only reason why Latinos Unidos is still in this engagement is the fact that they had those two members on the southern side of the road that rotated out. They were caught, but now they have found themselves back on the north. They're calling to Matthias. They're saying crawl, 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 praying that he doesn't get flushed. Revo trying to watch this angle, making sure that he can spot out any member of Are You Scared that pushes towards them. But for the meantime, it looks like Are You Scared has been able to recover. They have 3 alive, and now Matthias will be picked back up. A 3v3 continues to rage on here in Milta, but you have to wonder, what are these teams losing? They're losing out on meds, they're losing out of utility, they're losing out on ammo, they're losing out on favorable positions inside of phase number 1.
You're going to end up, even when the circle comes in on phase 1, Milta still has the circle. You can see they're just playing on the edge right now as Mighty pressing up on Mateus. He needs a couple more seconds to get the healing off as pressure being applied by the rest of Are You Scared. Long sight lines being taken as Mikey just on the side. Pre-fire coming in from Mateus to try and fight back Mighty's aggressive push. Revo changes positions, keeps sight lines on. Mateus is going to go for some more healing as Cal takes the shots, gets the knock on Clonus. The team of Sundadas need to be very careful here. If they show themselves, they might get overwhelmed. Revo on the angle. Cal gets knocked back in return. Mighty is there for the res, but Revo is still holding that angle. They can't get to Clonus because they're just being locked down at the moment. Revo charging up the grenade. If he can get that over in a nice arc, he might be able to find the double knock, but I think he's put too much distance on it. Oh! Revo with the cook time finds it perfectly and then gets their second backup kill on top of that one as well, turning this into a 3v1 engagement and winning it out for Latinos Unidos.
What a huge fight right there. The Battle of Milta has been won, and Latinos Unidos stand supreme on that city on the northern side of Erangel. A huge grenade, though, coming up. Trid, we both thought that grenade was going to miss, but Are You Scared walked right into it as we pop down to Sanhok Island. It's going to be Beowulf from Nova, able to get a nice knock onto Blinded by Wind. Hector popped out of the vehicle. Now Arf's going to be popping on as well, trying to provide some support, but it's not going to be beneficial whatsoever as Hector gets popped out of the game.
Immediately switches to the Dragunov, wants to get that sight, was the VSS, sorry. Immediately wants to try and get that longer sight line on Blinded by Wind. You can see the bullets still being fired towards Ark, so they don't want to let off the gas just yet, as he's going to have to try and do this on foot, hiding and taking protection in these coastal rocks.
Blue zone almost done with that shrink, about 30% more of a way to go until we see what phase number 2 is going to be presenting these 15 remaining teams. And game number 3 is Method. Well, they're in a vehicle. This is their bread and butter. The vehicles are a comfortable place, at least for some of these members. Sad to see that G-Bay is not the one driving.
Yeah, no, G-Bay's driving a buggy.
Car.
He's got his own. He's got his own thing. They're just like, no, G-Bay, get in your own car. We don't trust you. You go ahead, sit in that buggy. Just trying to get themselves into a position. I believe they're still holding onto the vehicles. They need to be careful of Ignite Gold, who are playing just southeast of Ruins. May run into them, or they may get spotted out as they try and move into the circle.
Yeah, this is going to be at least a little bit interesting to watch. I'm your enemy posturing here in the apartments next to school as the Pittsburgh Knights are going to be making landfall around that far southern bend of Military Island. Almost betting that the circle's going to go there. Well, phase number 2 has just popped. Our teams are going to be at least seeing what area of land they have to work with here on Erangel, and it's not going to be extremely pretty for our teams all the way to the north. Huge rotations have to continue to come out from not just G6, but as well as Space Station Gaming off to the far northeast. And don't forget Space Station. They've already lost one member early on. Sixless is not going to be able to help out his other 3 teammates.
They're driving in parallel with G6. It's going to be interesting to see if they trade fire in these vehicles. A lot of them are mobile right now. It's Angry, tanking a little bit of the blue. He's just off by himself. He hasn't got a passenger to help him shoot down anyone. He's just tanking blue while he tries to get into the area, whilst also avoiding what G6 can do. Lights Out taking an engagement against Method, who 3 of them been knocked. They can just get that final kill, then they're just going to flush them all down. But Angry's going to get himself away, just on the brink of life, so close to hitting the blue. There it is, Lights Out taking the engagement. They're trying to get that flush onto Clay. Just need a couple more shots and he should be able to pull it off.
They've already flushed down Pride, so one member of Method being claimed by the members of Lights Out here for the northwestern side of the circle. This is going to be a power position, at least for this team to hold here through phase number 2 if they can wipe out any enemy presence remaining. But they are also in the wide open. A lot of counter positions that could serve detrimental, I think, to this Lights Out squad who is trying to continue to make waves here in the PUBG mobile scene. They've already done so, but we're looking for stellar performances. I know there are a lot of Lights Out fans in the chat, so spam those emotes, spam that Lights Out, and channel your favorite teams, your energy.
Just going to all get in the vehicle. Method still kept alive by their last member, G-Bay, who was in that separate vehicle. So GB going to have to play placement now as Creamer taking the long swim to get themselves onto Military Island rather than go across any of these bridges, which we mentioned at the top of the map can provide some difficulty with being a gatekeeping position that teams like to hold down.
HQA going to be holding on to that western bridge, the only bridge currently in play here for phase number 2, and it doesn't look like they're going to be stopping anytime soon. Continuing on this path, not pulling over to any of the obstacles just yet. I don't think they're going to want to hedge their bets on this. Bridge camping, usually it can rack you up some kills, but if there's anything, Trid, that we've learned so far here in these PUBG Mobile Club Open tournaments is placement points are where you're getting a bulk of your points. You need to do placements as well as kills. Certainly kills can boot you up into those upper echelons, but you have to get good placements, and consistency is key in that regard.
They are setting themselves up just outside the bridge in prone, using the third person perspective. As IGN coming across the eastern bridge, so they're not falling into the trap yet, but they could set one of their own because they've got Space Station Gaming and Latinos Unidos coming across. I actually think Latinos Unidos have got themselves a boat and they're able to come across anywhere on that island, but Space Station Gaming, they're going to have to take the path of the bridge, which is the most deadly.
Certainly is the most deadly. Pittsburgh Knights, we saw them wrap entirely around Sosnovka Island and make landfall with their boat on the southern coastal region, but now they have advanced themselves, trying to get a better position inside of phase number 2, crashing here on one of the more powerful compounds here in PUBG Mobile, the Garage. It's one of the easiest compounds to defend when you have an entire squad to work with, and on the flip side of that, it's one of the hardest buildings to breach. So we'll see if that pays off for the Pittsburgh Knights. Certainly phase 3 could shift anywhere, and it is about to go. And here it is, over towards the west-hand side is where phase number 3 is going to be taking us. And Trid, we don't see it on screen yet, but I can certainly see a lot of water these
Let's
teams are
get
going to
that
have
map
to combat
up on
against.
screen right now, just to quickly show you what's going on. Less than half of that map, or half of that circle, is going to be in water as outside of 9K trading fire. Look at that, two members knocked as they sprayed through there. That's not good for Silent Killers. Mitz is going to come back on that one to try and protect them, but they're already applying the pressure, keeping them away, and now they're taking better angles to take this engagement.
Yeah, this rock, also known as Mufasa, because of its just huge presence here on the southern part of Sosnovka Island. It's providing a lot of lines of sight for Lights Out to currently capitalize upon. They're able to secure these flushes now. That's going to be another kill, the 5th kill of the game here in the early stages of game number 3, going over to Lights Out. And well, they've got more in their sight. The Silent Killers over here on that far western edge of Sosnovka Island are not going to have a lot of room to work with as Chris and Mitz just try to hold on to their lives and will wave goodbye to Felix.
And then Proton's going to get knocked down as well by Munoz and the rest of Cream, who are taking that engagement on the north side of the island. Rolex still holding the angle. There's that circle for you now. Look how much land there is to play with, and look how much of it is in the water. This is not going to be good for a slower paced game, shall we say. It's actually going to accelerate as these teams crash into this circle.
And that's what we like as viewers of PUBG Mobile Esports. We like the action.
Not as players.
We want to see the players stuck in the trickiest situations possible, because that's where we really see the skill and the strategy shine from these teams here. The top 32 teams in the entirety of this tournament for North America. But it's going to be Lights Out continuing to try to stake their claim to the top team in North America as they look at Home Alone and saying going to be dropped down very low. He is pretty much a lost cause in terms of his team as Lights Out continuing to hold on to this very pier.
Wait, Lights Out are in a 2-2 split right now, so they were able to take on that 4-man squad by themselves. Well, in a 2-man situation, I believe that Silent Killers are still in the game, but they have suffered casualties because of them not being able to win against that 2-man squad. And now, I think they're going to the edge of the pier, and they're just going to drive into the water and try and swim across.
Yeah, they were trying to find a boat. They were going to look and see if one was maybe dangling at the edge of the pier, but now just advancing as far as possible into the channel. Certainly swimming, it's going to be slow. Charge that vehicle. Utilize whatever land is still in front of you. I'm your enemy in the blue zone. 2 members down, King G and Proton. Gucci and his teammate Sad have to make big moves here. They're trying to ride along this eastern coast of Sosnovka Island, but they are in the blue zone phase number 3. It's going to start to be more of a factor in terms of damage.
Home Alone just lost a member to the Blues. They're trying to come across that channel onto Military Island. Lights Out are making the swim, so are Home Alone. G-Bay is about to do it as well as he enters onto the pier. Yayo and Oswi from G6 are also making that swim as well, so everyone finding a way to get onto this island.
Here we have Nova posturing on top of the hill. This is going to be a great position for Nova to pick up not just information, but likely damage onto these squads. Anything you can do, even if it's not going to result in a knock or a flush, it certainly whittles down your opponents, and Nova is posturing beautifully to do just that. VN1 are victors of game number 2, going to be just down the hill to the west of where Nova is posturing, and they need to be careful. These are going to be 2 squads who have a lot to prove here. They're fan favorites from this region, and all eyes are going to be on their performance.
Rightly so as well. If you want to be one of these top performing teams, you want to go to the global finals in the spring global finals. You need to be performing here, and if you're going to be representing North America, you need to put on a show for everyone. Bucky going to take a better position in the house, still conscious of where Nova is. As G-Bay begins to make that long swim over the new circle, moving away from the water will force a lot of these teams to make landfall. And it just gets even worse for these teams that are trying to breach on, because look at G6, they've already got a position on land there. Osway and Yayo just on the beach. They're going to be able to turn around onto Lights Out if they go in here. Same with Home Alone, because SK is also playing the cliffside as well. So there's so many teams that are in a dangerous position where the second they step on land, they're just going to be rained down upon with bullets.
And this is where it's so crucial for your team to have the right strategy. Where are you going to make landfall based off of the information you can get while you're in those boats? Certainly not while you're swimming, but while you're in the boats, you can scope in with whatever type of optic you've been able to find and get some good information as to what teams are still posturing themselves on that area of Sosnovka Island. But G-Bay from Method, he's the solo player once again from this squad. Certainly a different scenario than we saw him in game number 2. No vehicle to his name, but he's swimming right towards some of the members of Lights Out. He's got to be careful to keep that head down or else risk going out entirely.
Especially considering they can just spin around, but nice headshot there from outside of 9K. Sam, not so much, applying pressure with the Car 98, unable to find those shots right now. He's going to keep themselves, and he's keeping VN1 locked down. They now absolutely have confirmation of each other's movements, and that is critical to having a fair fight.
The eastern side of phase number 4 going to be very crowded. The western side, not so much. A lot of teams very spread out in that direction as VN1 continues to get battered by shots from Nova. And this is what I was talking about, Trid. They're not going to be able to get any kills from inside of that building. Sure, they might get some nice knocks, but anything you can do. The damage is being applied, and while Pittsburgh Knights are also feeling that off of the other side of the mountain. This is Nova continuing to just dominate all of their surroundings. That 360-degree watch that they're able to execute with 4 members alive is proving detrimental to every other team trying to climb.
They are the kings of the hill, and they want to let everyone know it. Parker finding a knock onto Chris as Beowulf is one of these sight lines and one of these arms of the mountain, so to speak, just applying pressure everywhere. Landfall not been made yet by a lot of these teams. Home Alone is about to, well, they're going to be forced to make that very shortly. G-Base still hidden off in the water. Circle will push them closer to the land, and this is where Wi-Fi is at the bottom of the mountain, having that pressure applied by Nova. He's got the rest of Latinos Unidos and Cream off to his right as Memo will start attacking the members of Home Alone, gets that knock onto Plan B, so surely they should be able to get the flush and the cleanup off the back of this as well, as Hal, P-Win, just caught off, and now Lights Out can move. G-Bay might not make it into the blue. He's playing so safe, and he's going to die to the blue on the cusp of safety, but I doubt he would have been able to get onto land anyway, with Lights Out being so alert of that particular route of ingress.
Yes, his seconds were certainly numbered here in this game, whether he made it inside of the zone or not. But here we have it, another shift. Phase number 5 is taking a smack dab on top of that mountain where Nova was previously fighting VN1, but it's going to be Wi-Fi, the IGL for this Pittsburgh Knights team, going to be dropped down. What can Jagger, what can Monarch do to combat against this? Latinos Unidas, Mattias, the solo player from this squad trade, he's trying to met up before this onslaught for the Pittsburgh Knights approaches.
Might be enough more than he can chew here. Cheto, up on the high ground, is aware of this fight, and you might be able to just pick off someone from Pittsburgh Knights or Latinos Unidos should they come up to this road. The blue is already forcing movement though, so not going to be able to hold that angle, and they're just leaving Mateus behind, hoping that he dies to the blue, but he's still able to get himself into the area for now, return some fire onto Wi-Fi, but he's finally been dropped as they turn around and take what they should have done, the easy kill.
Exactly right. Easy kills are certainly going to be an easy point over to your lead. Space Station Gaming, Juicy lighting up the kill feed as well, but now Nova will able to turn it on to Juicy. Going to be knocking him down and out. 9 teams still remaining here, and that number is about to get a lot smaller very quickly as Cream is under fire. HQA lights out, putting some pressure onto this buggy that is the saving grace right now for Cheto, as well as Karma, the 2 of the 3 remaining members of the Scream squad. Munoz pushed out, essentially caught out in the open, just a rock to hide behind as Pittsburgh Knights Jagger going to be spraying down M416, but he's connected on Munoz. That flank position, the unknown, ends up finding the connection.
Pittsburgh Knights coming to close ranks, get their fallen member down, get him back in the game. Cream, they're trying to find a way onto this mountain that Nova's carved out for themselves. They're in the best position to be able to climb up. They've got the shallowest incline of any team based off of their pathing, but Pittsburgh Knights, they're going to try and get on some kind of flank and find a way up there as HQA trying to stay in this game right now. Smokes and healing are on the agenda, getting them back to full strength so they can potentially contest whatever comes at them next, and that appears to be lights out.
Yeah, smokes and heals might be on the agenda for HQA, but kills are on the agenda for lights out as they aggressively push off of this northern flank, where HQA has currently been holding on. That smoke concealment pretty much saving them from this push as Seagut starts to crawl up. He's going to be on that eastern flank where HQA is, and now Nova spotted out the engagement. They saw all the smokes. Their attention has been drawn towards this area, and an all-out war is erupting as Outsider 9K tries to spray down. It's going to be Rolex onto Qang. Outsider 9K going to be taken down. Qang as well. The flush comes in clutch for lights out as they wipe out HQA, but Trid, they've got to deal with Nova now up the hill, and in this position, Will, I fear for what they're going to be able to pull off.
There's a lot of people that need to deal with Nova, and I feel like the people should rise up at the same time, split Nova's attention, and just make
together
sure dethrone those kings. We're gonna have a French Revolution on that mountain. Pull out the guillotine, start taking out some aristocrats.
Exactly right. But as we know, it's every team for themselves here in PUBG Mobile. You might help someone indirectly, but a split second later, you're taking their heads off and collecting those kill counts. But teams are erupting. Nova continues to pick up the kills. Pittsburgh Knights Monarch going to be knocked down and flushed out of the game. And while Nova's been shifted, they've got to move, but they also have to protect against any other team pushing off of the east. Sam going to be knocked down as they try to trade back with Pittsburgh Knights. Jagger, one of the only members remaining for this squad, going to be spotted out and flushed down. Out go Pittsburgh Knights in 7th position to the hands of Nova.
This has worked out great for VN1, not so good for Nova, who have to make that rotation off of this mountain they've made so cozy and so homey for them. VN1 finding that kill onto Rolex, getting it down on Seagull, as well as the flush. That's lights out, turning their lights out. They're going to be off the map for now.
VN1 in a deadly position inside of that building the entirety of this
Nova.
Mid to late game, but now Cream has turned it. They've spotted out Nova trying to make that rotation. They were a silent threat on the eastern side of our previous phases, but now Munoz has shown his hand. He still has Karma and Cheto up as well, and here comes the flush. If he looks right down the hill, he can secure that kill, but he's not seeing anything other than that Dacia, and well, he doesn't want to accept that fate of bombing into the circle just yet. Continues to hold on to the high ground and look down upon what his team is going to have to cross.
And Angry trying to get himself through into this circle, but he's taking the path by the road, hoping to abuse the terrain sightlines that have just been naturally made by this map as he just snakes his way through the grass. No one's spotted him out just yet, but he might be able to get a good placement for his team. There are only 4 teams remaining right now, so if he can just survive or outlast one of the next firefights without being spotted, he can get a top 3 finish for Space Station Gaming.
And that's huge, given what they were starting with
Yes.
at the onset of this game. Losing Sixless so early, we thought it was going to hamper their team and what they were able to pull out, but just making it into this top 4 is a goal within itself as the shots erupt. Cream's Munoz is going to be dropped down to about 10% HP as he tries to climb behind the rock, try to get back to safety to hopefully res his fallen teammate Cheto.
Needs to wait for the right time though. There's the smoke coming out to get him back. We've got Karma off somewhere as well. I think he's nearby just to provide suppressive fire. He's taking that sightline by the tree, keeping an eye on VN1, feeding that information, letting him know when the safe opportunity to res his care package dropping right on top of VN1. It'll be risky for them to go for this as well, because all eyes are on them right now.
It's like a happy birthday,
yeah.
VN1. Here is your present. Well, they're certainly going to be collecting whatever powerful gun hides in that crate, but they have to be very aware of their surroundings. Nova going to be a deadly threat just to the south of this compound that VN1's been holding on. You can see Edwin and Kato going to be crawling up for the time, undetected, but that blue zone could push them off, and well, showed their hand a little bit as movement has to come out. Space Station Gaming has to crawl inside a few meters, as well as Munoz off to the northeast.
I think they'll be fine to be able to do this when they're so close to the next circle that their movement is very finite, and they've got good cover here from the biggest threats, which are VN1, off to the northwest of that circle.
I want to draw attention to this real quick.
Yeah, of course.
You saw that Nova is already starting to drop their backpacks, and this is one of the strategies that you see teams do when they commit fully to the snake. They don't want to be caught out. They don't want to see essentially a hump right, kind of crawling along the grass right there.
Yeah.
So this is next level, top tier PUBG Mobile play that you might not see, or you might just, it's too quick that you might not pick it up, but take note of what Kato is doing.
Right, Karma just got taken out. Top 3 finish secured for Space Station Gaming, Nova, and VN1. Angry, I think he'd rather try and take out Nova, go for the second place, because I think he's going to have a lot of difficulty going for that first.
Certainly is, but he's crawling up to this ledge, going to give him an easy angle to sort of peek over and possibly catch out one of these teams. But the only hope for Angry right now is if Nova and VN1 clash. It's going to be extremely hard for him to 2v1 Nova with VN1 looking directly at his angle. And knowing that, he knows what is sort of the landscape down here just to the west, and he crawls back a little bit, safe inside of the circle as far as he needs to go.
The smokes are obscuring the vision between Nova and VN1. Lucas making a little bit of a snaky movement of himself. Nova are trying to climb up onto the higher ground, where they may run into Angry, and he may be forced to open fire and give away his position to VN1. But if VN1 can open up on Nova, he still gets the second place finish he's looking for here.
So as we approach phase number 8, it's going to be ever so telling as to who is going to have the favor here. Certainly one team is going to have to adjust off of this position as Edwin and Kato get dangerously close, snaking along this hillside near where Angry from Space Station Gaming has postured himself. The blue zone almost done with that shrink trid. I'm pretty excited to see where we're going to be going because a wide open area presents itself for
okay,
VN1.
so VN1 have to leave the safety of the compound. They have to come over to Angry and Nova. This is really good for Angry because if Nova opens up on VN1 when they expose themselves, as they should do, Angry can pick off the pieces and deal with the aftermath.
But he needs Nova to get at least more than one knock on a VN1. He can't approach Nova when they only have one knock or no knocks against VN1, but here comes the push. The smokes are being deployed by VN1 as Edwin and Kato sit back, and they're just waiting for a head to poke up over this little bit of a hillside over to the northwest of where they're currently holding.
They're taking it in turns to expose themselves while the others can provide suppressing fire. Now Ran is going to enter the smoke, and on the other side waits 2 members of Nova. Angry's going to bide his time for now, keep an eye on the numbers and be ready to move in when it's possible. Key and Ran are in the smoke. They emerge through one. Kato should be able to spot Ran here, but it might be a different angle for him. Is Ran keeping an eye where he is? He's not in the smoke, but the terrain is still blocking it. They might have knowledge of each other, they just might not want to expose each other. There's shots being traded. Kato is the first one to go down. Lucas being the one to do that. It's terrible for Angry as Rand's now going to deal with Kato, get the flush. So Edwin and Angry against 4 members of VN1.
And again, VN1 likely doesn't know that Nova doesn't have that third player alive. They don't know it's a solo player because they haven't heard a lot of shots. They have no indication that there are 3 teams still alive as Angry preps these nades. He's going to be trying to land them directly on top of the smoke that he saw off in the distance, but it misses its mark as VN1 is completely
Edwin
wrapped
now
around
knows
the
he's
circle.
coming from there. Edwin now knows that someone is up there who's not his teammates, and now he's going to be keeping an eye on Angry because, like we keep saying, it's easier to go for second place here, take out 1 person, than it is to take out 4. The circle's going to come in, force the hand. Lucas has got the flank. He's trying to get in there. They're just wildly spraying, but no one has had anything connected to them just yet. Flanks are coming in. VN1 are creeping around. Everyone's got down. Perfect for Angry. He gets second place for Space Gaming. Now it's about how many kills he can rack up before he finally goes down. But they're all going to storm him. They know there's 1 person left. VN1 do it without casualties. And they're going to take away their second map win of the day.
Back-to-back wins for VN1. Give them Vikendi, they'll take it down and they'll pick up the W. Give them Erangel, at least 1 match of it, and they'll pick up the W as well. And that's going to be a nice 9-kill finish for them. But I think the story of that was the huge solo player effort coming out of Space Station Gaming. Angry, 0 kills to his name. It's not representative of his presence here in game number 3.
Yeah, he was able to get there. You saw the methodology of what he was trying to achieve. It's very transparent that he was going to wait for the firefight and try and get himself potentially a first place. When it didn't become an option, it was just about making sure that Edwin died before him and guarantees that he gets himself the second place finish. So well played by Space Station Gaming, not being over ambitious with what he was trying to do.
Yeah, okay, Angry had that second grenade prepped and ready. You know that he was waiting for a firefight to erupt.
Yes.
Unfortunately, when Nova only has 1 player left. Well, there's no firefight. It's going to be an instant knock, and out they go.
It's not a firefight, it's a slaughter in that instance, Squire, and that's exactly
yeah.
what happened with VN1 towards the end of that game. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you our final map of the day. It's the second helping of Erangel.
Welcome back, everyone, to the PUBG Mobile Club Open. We're in week number 2, Trid. We just finished game number 3, and we're going into our final match of the day on Erangel.
More of the same to go on to Erangel, but something quite refreshing to see. VN1 back-to-back map wins on Vikendi in our first instance of Erangel today, so that puts them in a good position, and we'll try and give you an update on the standings, but if you're a little bit too impatient, then we can go over to clubopen.pubgmobile.com and get all the information there, as well as watch some of the replays through the YouTube channel. So if you don't want to wait for us to tell you the standings, you can go check how they're doing, see if Misfits have been knocked off the top spot. They could well have been in the past couple of games, but we're going to have one more map to come for you and give another chance for these teams to climb up the rankings, potentially do that themselves.
Yes, but an exciting game. We got to talk about that in-game finish, that three-way standoff between Space Station Gaming, Nova, and VN1. That was a pretty tactical play from VN1. You'd like to see it. They could have played it extremely aggressive right there, maybe lost a lot in the process, but they played it methodically. They cleared their angles. They wrapped around that western side of the circle and ultimately found that chicken dinner. Yeah,
and it was really tough for Space Station Angry as well as Nova Edwin to make any kind of decision there, because the solo players, the second they pop up, well, they don't have to worry about space. They don't have to worry just about VN1. They have to worry about each other, because obviously, like we said, it's a numbers game. Do you want to take out one person and get second place, or do you want to try and fight 4 people to try and get first place? I think you concede the fact you're going to get second, and then that becomes a game of just, oh god, I hope VN1 doesn't find me. I need to keep my head down. And that's exactly what happened for Angry, and it got Space Station Gaming that second place finish.
Yeah, I think literally the only position out of that circle, I think there was maybe about 30% of that circle where Angry needed to be able to make it to second place. Thankfully, he was in that position. It was a high ground spot where VN1 had to risk peeking over. Thankfully for VN1, they had cleared out Nova, and they knew that it had happened essentially from the kill feed at that point in time. But a huge win for VN1, back to back. If they can get one more win, Trid, here, they are going to tie Misfits for the most wins in one day of PUBG Mobile Club Open Play.
Oof. That's going to be quite the accolade to get, let's be honest.
VN1 what? Like, we already have to start thinking about it because it's so set up. Chat, what do you think? We got Misfits Magic, VN1.
It's like, here's the thing, it's not a word. It'd be like VN1 victory.
Exactly.
It's just like the easy one. But
victory
it's like,
for VN1.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever. I'm sure you can come up with something more creative. You're probably better at this than we are, to a degree. But let's focus on what's coming up next. Erangel. Yes. So, Milta, we know that was a hot better contestation. I believe we had VN1 and Latinos Unidos fighting off there.
We did.
I can't think of any other hotspots that cropped up across the map, especially when they had free reign of the entire map. I think that's the only clash we've seen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Milta this time around. Will they split it? Will one team back off and go to a backup drop? Or will they just go gung-ho and try and clear each other out even earlier?
So one team that, yes, they did well in getting to second place, Space Station Gaming. I got to talk about them because they are a team that had a lot of turmoil in the early stages of game number 3. They dropped, I believe it was a little bit west of Rozhok near Watertown, and well, they lost Sixless immediately, right? So I want to see a shift from them. They need to pull off of that area of Erangel, at least for their drop. Where are they going to go? One. And then do they have a good grasp on the rotations based off of the different circles that you can see from that secondary location? I think that's the biggest hamper for teams on their plan B or the plan C drops. Is sure, they might know the drop location, they might know how to loot from it, but do they know how to rotate from it?
Very good. Very interesting point to note. Obviously, people will obviously just go, if you hot drop, you're dead, but can you actually operate out of your secondary plans as well? But who knows? Maybe even their plan B and plan C is already occupied as well.
Exactly.
At that point, you need to go down the list to go, all right, okay, well, then maybe we can go school? Like, just trying to work out, like,
the list probably ends there, and you're just like, crap. We just have to go somewhere. Like, essentially trash loot on the West Coast. Pull off a few compounds for everyone to land to, so far out in the distance that you would almost be guaranteed in not seeing any other enemy teams. But again, keeping your eyes on Space Station Gaming. Again, a top competitor here in this lobby, having a tough time on game number 3 of Erangel. What are they going to do differently?
Not die early. That's probably the best thing they can do.
But if they do, hopefully Angry's alive.
Yeah, Angry's the lone survivor. As long as he's there, everything's going to be fine. Maybe unless G-Bay has a vehicle in his nearby. I think that's the only way he gets beaten in that instance.
Yeah.
But Space Station Gaming, I think if you can get them into the late with a full-strength squad and they don't do anything stupid, they could come out with a good finish here, not just with placement, but also with kills to boot and get themselves up the leaderboard a little bit further.
Yeah, you kind of have to almost think back to that game where Angry was in that position as a solo. Think of how different that battle could have taken place if Angry had at least one other teammate alive to protect against that northwest rather than southwestern position. Could have been worlds different.
It could have been. Actually, it might have forced a different outcome because they might have actually gone aggressive too early, and it would have been costly. You wouldn't be able to know 100% what would happen, but they were guessing just on numbers, it would have been an advantageous thing to do. We're about to jump into Erangel, our final map of the day, and the wheels are off the ground in the air. We'll pull up the map for you, give you a nice little look of where things are coming. But that there, to me, looks like a southwest to northeast plane, and it's right in the center of the map.
All things considered, probably our fairest playing path so far of the tournament, pretty much dissecting Erangel in half, 50 down to the southeast, and then 50% up towards the northwest. So anywhere is going to be likely open for these teams to drop through, and that's kind of what you want to see, how these teams shift when they have everything open or everything at their leisure. We'll see, though, where these teams make those shifts. Latinos Unidos already pulling far off of Milta. They're going to the opposite end of the map, likely down to Primorsk, as you see Clonus and his other teammates soaring that direction.
They have got some company, though. I think that's Ignite Gold following them down as well into the Primorsk area. They may have to go a little bit further to get away from them. But are you scared? So they've got free reign of Military Island for now. The rest of the team's going further north and fanning out even further. But that does look like Primorsk is going to be a double drop zone for Latinos Unidos and Ignite Gold.
From one contested area into another, exactly
like
what
I said,
you
the
mentioned.
plan B.
I mean, Trid, you mentioned it. What happens if your plan B is occupied? We're going to see very shortly. How does Latinos Unidos handle this? Because surely they are a team that doesn't want these early game conflicts. You might pick up a kill or two along the way, but if you go out in 16th position, well, just a few placements up and you would have matched those kill points. Now all players out of the cargo hold for sure, and we will see phase number 1 pop, complete opposite side of where Latinos Unidos have dropped, and they are going to have a world of travel ahead of them to get up there towards shooting range.
I'm fairly certain, wasn't it Ignite Gold who dropped the Zaki in the last map?
It was.
And then they had a circle on the other side of the map for them. So they then drop south, they drop at Primorsk, and then circle, other side of the map for them. It's not looking good for them somehow. I think they're... game's working against them a bit this game.
So VOD review, find out where Ignite Gold drops, never go there. They had the opposite of game sense in terms of knowing where the circle is going to go. But, I mean,
it's 100% their fault. They definitely chose to be away from the circle.
You know, again, it's a good point to make. And look at this. This is an interesting strategy being played out right now by the members of Ignite Gold. They're pulling off of Primorsk entirely in favor for swimming around this eastern and probably going up north, right? And there it is to the boat. But again, a lot of time is being wasted by these members of Ignite Gold. They're going to lose out on so much rotation time, which is going to be key for them having to go all the way up north. You see Everfury, Method. Well, it wouldn't be a game of PUBG Mobile if Method wasn't in the lobby getting kills with vehicles, and they're certainly do it. Not G-Bay this time, Everfury, but he's taking a page out of his teammate's book.
It's good to note as they're heading over to Georgia Pole right now, and that's also the same plan that Cream and HQA are both having as well, heading over to that Georgia Pole area for that good loot and get themselves into circle quite comfortably nice and early as well, because there's a lot of teams who still need to do that themselves. Fi was holding down the ferry pier, where they got the boat from to get that exfiltration from Primorsk and make that done effectively. It's silent killers in the area, though, who are very far spread out under the circumstances that may run into difficulty here when Ignite Gold try and press north.
Looking over here, Space Station Gaming has pulled off of that Watertown drop that they found themselves a little bit amidst conflict of in game number 3, opting for that Yasnaya Polyana area and looking at the map around them. They have no one to contest with. This is going to be a world different game for them, at least here in the early stages. They're going to pick up whatever loot they want. All backpacks will be filled with meds, and this is almost the start that you want. If you're Space Station Gaming, if you're a fan of this esports organization, this is ideal for your team.
Yeah, Yasnaya is all theirs, and they're just going to get all that loot uncontested until maybe someone tries to go in for a fight a little bit later, but for the time being, they're going to be fine. Shots are being traded, actually. Home Alone running into what appears to be another squad in the northeast, but it's Method getting eyes on HQA, and we knew Georgia Pole may be contested for them. They've left themselves Hunzi behind. It's Clay actually very undergeared right now to take an engagement. They're going to be relying on G-Bay and the others. As Everfury just working with the pistol. Hunzi trying to get away in the buggy, and there you go. Going to get the knock and cleaned out. That's Pride picking up that first kill.
So I'm going to be looking as to how HQA reacts off of this. They soared through to the western side of North Georgia Pole, disengaged rather entirely off of this Method team, but Method capitalized. They pick up their second kill of the game. Remember, they had that vehicular kill to start off the game, and that's going to be 2 points going towards Method, maybe some forward momentum for this Method squad as we roll in to the early to mid game here of our final game of day number 1, week 2, PUBG Mobile Club Open.
The end of the road of the group stage this weekend. So teams, this is where the points really matter. You could have had a bad week 1, but as long as you handle your week 2 with style and finesse, get up on those points boards, you'll be fine to move through, and we'll see you again in our 3rd week of action. But Bucky, on the back of this buggy, the rest of VN1 pressing down from that northeast, and they're heading to the area just north of Yasnaya. They may run into G6 if they're not too careful here about their pathing, because I believe G6 at the bottom of this hill in that farmyard compound, and they're heading straight for it. They're not too careful. They may crash into it and bite off more than they can chew, but they're going to go for it anyway.
Crashing in, Quee going to be taking a lot of damage, so is his teammate. Bucky dropped down to about 60% HP, Quee dropped down to 40 as they try to disengage so quickly off of this building. Trid, I have no idea how they had the opportunity to get into the buggy, go from that slow stop into a quick start and get out of dodge. Thankfully, though, for their team, they're able to continue on. VN1, again, going for that three-peat. It's not just going for points here in this final game number 4. They want to tie it. They want to say, hey, Misfits might have been great week number 1, but we are setting the pace here in week number 2 and going in to the semifinals here next week should they make it. I don't think anyone's really concerned about that, though, at this stage in the game.
They really want this, actually. They realized it was a compound that's occupied, and then they call in for reinforcements. Here come Ran and Lucas in the other buggy to set up crossfire and keep an eye on this compound.
And that's the thing about this compound. There's really not much to be gained from it in terms of positioning. Where we see phase number 1, it doesn't offer you anything that would be worth possibly going out here in 16th. This is full aggression. This is full confidence being displayed by VN1 on top of G6, saying, we don't even know who this is, but we do know that they had terrible shots as we disengaged in our buggy, and well, that's enough for us to try to put the pressure on.
Trying to apply pressure on Yayo, who's coming in the US to make sure they're at full strength to repel this assault that looks geared up to come. But Yayo, going to take that vehicle again just off to the side, make sure he's in the best position he can be. Behind VN1, actually, I still think there's another unit, but they're getting in the buggies. They're not going to take this fight. I think they're going to back off now. Realize that, hey, they're at full strength. We should probably just leave. This isn't, like you said, there's not much to gain from this beyond those kill points and just some early confidence. So it's not worth it to lose so much to achieve it.
So the idea for VN1, get to a more centralized area off of that far eastern position that they were previously holding. As lights out, we pop over to them. They're trying to do exactly the same thing, rolling on the heels of Are You Scared? Sanso going to be taking fire immediately. The first shot that comes out of the Scar for outside 9K going to be a connection with the head.
I thought they lost one of their own there when Rolex jumped out of the vehicle. I thought he was knocked out by some fire from behind, but no, he just jumped out to make sure they can get the loot, get the kill, and then carry on moving. But more importantly, get themselves another vehicle for them to play around with. Yeah,
and that's going to be big there. Anything that you can bring into these PUBG Mobile games, anything you can utilize to possibly help out any advantage that you can get, it's going to be huge. I'm your enemy, though. They've disengaged entirely off of that spot they were previously holding. Around the school apartments area, they were dangerously nearby to lights out. Another team on a similar rotation path, just trying to avoid danger, trying to climb as high as possible. And day 1 of week 2, but here comes Nova as well. Nova opting to take that blue zone damage, riding the eastern bridge all the way to the north.
It's definitely a safe move for them. I doubt anyone else is out there in the area, and or at least that's their thought process. They'll be uncontested as they make their rotation through this way instead. And they both have vehicles, so they're going to be able to get through it just fine. They're going to pass through farm and enter from a southeast direction.
The only time that I can remember Nova having any type of difficulty rotating off of that Novo spot was when they were in the same lobby as Misfits. No other team has gate-kept them on that mill to choke point in any of these games so far, as Cream's Karma going to be spotting out I'm Your Enemy, the spray coming out from a distance, applying a lot of damage as Cheto tries to do exactly the same. The rest of I'm Your Enemy riding along this riverbed, just trying to block the angles. The lines of sight have now been blocked, and they're going to be trying to get these meds off, but look at where they have to roll out of Trid. Not going to be easy.
And this is not good if you're I'm Your Enemy. Remember, they had their points reset at the beginning of the day from a competitive ruling, and this was all about climbing. And for the past couple of games, they've been going out way too early to get themselves back in the map, so they've not had a very good day, which was supposed to be their recovery and redemption. And with King G being down, they've already lost themselves a player in the form of Senso. It's not looking good for their longevity in the rest of this tournament.
Certainly not. Cream still inside of that building. You can see the crazy high ground that they have to work with, the beautiful lines of sight that they could have had on I'm Your Enemy had they not been able to disengage off of this. But I'm Your Enemy going to be okay, at least for the meantime. As we pop over here, Are You Scared? Still going to be 4 strong. She, You Mighty, and the rest of the crew, TJ Tattoo, trying to reunite as a 4-stack as they pass by that cube compound. Circle, though, has popped. Phase number 2 will be taking us further north. And our teams down to the south have to cross that river leading out of Yasnaya, one of the more notorious choke points here on Erangel.
And that was King G having his kill confirmed, so enemy now down to 2 players, Gucci and Proton, looking to get themselves as high as they can. Outside of 9K with a kill to himself. That's the rest of Lights Out, probably in one of the more central positions offered by this circle right now, just northeast of shooting range. Going to be having a, well, they were actually very close there, I believe, to seeing Are You Scared come past them and potentially be lit up, but they've been completely ignored. They're going to take their own rotation up to the northeast, where they could potentially clash with Home Alone, who are set up around a crate right now.
Taking a look at the surroundings, we see probably 80% plus of our lobby already secured inside of phase number 2, which presents issues for the other 20% that have to make those rotations. Do they choose to play edge, or do they choose to bomb in? If they bomb in, they are likely going to be absolutely destroyed by all of the enemy presence currently inside of the circle. As we pop over to Space Station Gaming, Sixless still alive. All 4 members of Space Station still alive, trying to work their way through this lobby here in game number 4 of the day. VN1 doing exactly the same. A lot of teams really just posturing right now. This would be an epic clash should we see it pop up, but from the looks of it, it looks like both teams just fairly content in their own positions.
For now, at least, until something forces their hands. Blinded by Win. We're on board with them. They've just got eyes on who they think. They've just got eyes on Home Alone. Keeping an eye at that angle as Wi-Fi is going to take some shots over at someone. I can't see who they actually took the shots at there from shooting range. The rest of them are in a good position here. They are awfully close to Method, so they need to be conscientious of making too much noise. They're actually taking shots at Silent Killers over in the distance, and they're trying to recover from that damage that was sent their way.
Certainly the Lights Out as well in the kill feed. You saw them connect on the Silent Killers. So Silent Killers, yes, shooting range, a dominant position, a powerful position, but getting there, wide open areas that teams are going to have wide open opportunities to spray you down with. Certainly not the most attractive option there. As we see Jagger, Pittsburgh Knights going to be caught out all alone. Wi-Fi not able to provide any meaningful support from that position, and the spray going to be coming out from the scar of play from Method, dropping down Jagger to about 45% HP, but he's thankfully able to hit that prone position and block the lines of sight with the Defilade.
The new circle, it's gone completely focused over to the northwest, and it's going to force the hand of a lot of these teams who thought they were set up. It's Latinos Unidos who are playing center of it right now, but you've got HQA and Lights Out in the area as well, just north of shooting range. But all these teams coming in from the southeast and east in that arc, they're not going to have a lot of fun getting into that area without basically contestation.
Make no mistake, phase number 3 has popped, but this circle is the size of essentially phase number 5 or 6. A lot of water going to be in play, blocking off any playable area for these teams to crash in and really position off of. Pittsburgh Knights, though, trying to make some fire, trying to pick up some kills along the way in their vehicles, spotting out Nova, not necessarily the team that you want on your backside, spraying down lead in your direction as the Pittsburgh Knights pull off in a most unfavorable position. 4 members inside the shack is a...
that's a grenade waiting to happen right now.
Exactly.
And if Nova spotted them going into that shack while they're medding up, they just need to drop a grenade in there and pick up a nice 4K for themselves, and that's going to be tasty 4 points just added on top if anyone is bold enough to go for it and punish Pittsburgh Knights for this reckless positioning.
You see the tracers coming in, you hear the shots hitting the shack. Pittsburgh Knights have popped a smoke, and I think the plan here was to try to get out some concealment to maybe disengage in that vehicle they rolled up when, but Here's the thing, that vehicle has exploded. That plan is dead in the water, almost as dead as Pittsburgh Knights might be here if they don't pull something out of their bag of tricks. But Nova, Edwin with the Mini 14, going to be able to find the first connection of this engagement. Monarch goes down, Wi-Fi a smidge of HP, about 1% left as Monarch's about to be flushed out. What can Jagger and Seven do here to provide support to their teammates? They need to do something here, or it's going to be out in 16th position for the Pittsburgh Knights.
They're trying to get as much smoke as they can to get out of this shack and cover it. Nova now being interrupted by Ignite Gold, and you've also got yourselves G6 across the way, drawing fire, drawing attention. Edwin, they're going to knock onto a member of Ignite Gold. They're going to keep the pressure on Pittsburgh Knights still. They're in a really strong position inside this house that they've carved out for themselves. They want to pick off the weaklings that have been left outside in the cold.
You've seen a lot of teams blow past this engagement, trying to favor that far northern coast. The coast, when you have a circle like this with about 50% water towards the north, it becomes such a power position to play off of. You have the deflator utilized, unlike Home Alone right here. They are perfectly in the sights of the SLR of Kato. He's able to put out the damage. One more shot will be connecting on and securing the kill as they go down and out. Home Alone facing off against a lot of casualties here in game number 4, but Nova turns their attention back onto the Pittsburgh Knights, still stranded inside of that shack. You've seen a few of their members die out, but a few still remain. A few sardines packed tightly inside of that very deadly shack.
And while the smoke is still there, they're uncertain exactly where the positioning of this team is, so they're going to have to fire a few blind shots. They're happy to give the information that they are where they are. There's Cal looking off to the side. I'm Your Enemy, I believe, are still in the blue, trying to find a way in. They're being pressured out here by Are You Scared, and they're going to have to make the decision to come into the area, but Are You Scared's hand is being moved. They have to change themselves. They are not currently in the circle of play, and it's going to start moving away from them.
About 35 seconds until that blue zone starts to shrink in on this next phase. The landscape of the final moments of the mid to late game of game number 4 are going to be even deadlier than we saw in game number 3. The shooting range, such a wide open area that doesn't really give you a lot of time to reposition or a big window of opportunity to reposition should you need to. And we'll look at this circle turret. It's pretty crowded. I can barely even see any playable area that's not currently occupied as Home Alone is starting to feel that P-win, just trying to back crawl off of that. Normally you see people crawling towards fights. This guy, he's slithering back. I don't know, can snakes slide backwards? Can they slither backwards?
I personally don't understand the mechanics of how a snake moves in the first place, so I wouldn't be able to tell you they can slither backwards or not.
Apparently they can, though.
P-win able to get a knock there onto Ignite Gold. I believe that would have been the flush as well, removing them from the map, potentially. Nova still got good control of this compound, and that's really Home Alone's next target, or next obstacle, shall we say. I don't think they want to target Nova. I feel like they're going to have to, as Galaxy just being popped off there. Nice shots coming out from Sam, easily dealt with, and now Home Alone, they're not going to be able to go back there and get him, so Sam's going to finish that one off. It's insane, and the rest of Home Alone, what remains of them, the two members, trying to find an advantageous position and find a home in this circle.
Are You Scared's mighty. He certainly knows the presence of the Silent Killers is still inside of the shooting range. We'll be trying to pop some grenades out there off to the northwest because they have to get inside of this circle. Shooting range is just going to have a few meters on that far western edge that is safe inside of phase number 4, but it's not going to be much. And will Are You Scared? They're going to be able to at least compact themselves into that safe area without taking too much damage, because Blinded by Wind is in the shooting range with them and is certainly going to be applying that pressure. But they've spotted out Woods. Blinded by Wind goes down, and out goes their team in 15th position.
But now they've alerted the position to the fact that Silent Killers are nearby. They're going to be able to capitalize on it as Memo taking shots at Yayo on G6, and Osway also down there potentially to help him out with the res. The rest of the Lights Out are keeping control of this coastline, stopping the sneaky mobility comes in. Carnage will get a kill. Also, Six is getting a knock onto Qang as well. So HQA taking that engagement with Space Station Gaming. Silent Killers holding off outside of shooting range and eyeing up P-Win and Insane, trying to get some damage off there, destroying their vehicles. They're taking cover, actually playing around this bunkered position and using the cover well that they've created for themselves with the vehicles.
So an interesting area of the map of Erangel that we don't really see implicated a lot, these bunkers. There's 3 in back on the far northern side of Erangel, 2 outside of shooting range, and then 1 a little bit further over towards the west. These bunkers, though, they're not like Shelter in the sense that they're not linked to it. If you find yourself down inside, well, you're essentially stuck. Getting out of there when a team is looking at that tunnel, it's a one-way street to being out of the game. but this fight is now posturing. Are you scared? Dangerously nearby to where Silent Killers currently are. They hear the footsteps. Raz going to be trying to look over as the grenades fly in from down south.
I think they need to think about bugging out of this one here. It's not looking good for them. Like you said, they are trapped there. And Are You Scared are holding the angle where if they do run out too far, they're just going to be picked off. They have to be defensive. Like, they're looking in the same direction. There are 13 teams alive in this last circle, Esquire, and that's a lot of angles to keep covered if you're a team that has to expose themselves to deal with a threat on their doorstep.
It puts even more value on the statement, know when to take the engagements and know when to sit silently. The kills are going to be certainly determinative in some instances, but being able to get those placement points are huge. Being able to keep your location concealed is going to be key for some of these teams in making it into those top 3 positions here in game number 4. Are You Scared? Cal going to be taking a lot of fire, but also sending a lot of lead up there towards the mountain on top of I'm Your Enemy, as his teammate has this suppressed him 2-4. A lot of deadly shots coming out of the shooting range.
Just take over behind the rock. Has got the line of sight on there. Managed to get the recovery for I'm Your Enemy, but not going to be able to successfully find those flushes. Consider that a message being sent, but now SK taking a few shots from an alternative angle and starting to apply that pressure for Are You Scared. Like I said, they need to turn around to this more immediate engagement that's on their doorstep. Otherwise, they take the foot off the gas or tear their attention off for a second or two. SK could rush out there and get a kill. Beowulf actually getting a knock with a grenade onto outside of 9K.
So I want to compare the scenario that Silent Killers are currently in to when you're inside of a house. You're safe for so long, but then you gotta leave. Like you talked about at the beginning of the day trade, when you have to vault out of those windows, you're completely exposed. You want to see Silent Killers turn around. You want to see them pop out of this bunker and really turn it onto Are You Scared? They have to should this circle end up shifting away, but they're already going to start it. A lot of damage being applied. Are You Scared seems to be at least winning this engagement so far based on health bars alone, but over here Latinos Nina's clone is going to be engaging on the Space Station Gaming, but Space Station Gaming is able to come through and get some knocks, but it's Revo who just swarms on top of the boys from SSG and wipes them out. A few more players though still alive as Angry bleeds out outside the shack.
Has to take cover. They're getting third parties so much here, but there's a grenade coming in, I believe there. Or was that a smoke grenade instead, just to provide some cover for these teams to get the reses off and get themselves in a position where they can get everyone back on their feet, because they haven't permanently lost a member of Latinos Unidos. SK under fire again, have to retreat back into this hole, and they're just stuck in this rat trap. They can't get out of it right now.
Yeah, they're extremely pinned as the blue zone starts to at least continue to shrink in. It's almost done meeting its edges. Phase number 6 will be popping soon, and at least for Silent Killer's sake, you hope that the circle will continue to favor down towards the southeastern edge, else they have a world of wide open terrain to cross, and a lot of eyes that will be trained in their directions, trying to spray down, trying to continue putting pressure on to P-Win, one of the players of Home Alone that's stuck inside of the shack, but also being very aware of the fact that there's a 4-stack of a team right behind you.
TJ Tattoo going to spray open onto SK. They finally got the knock onto Raz, and that's Cal being the person to put the pressure onto SK. Not confident enough to go for the run, but look at Nova being sneaky on the ground here. They got long sight lines onto that SK lineup. If that engagement goes wrong for either Are You Scared or SK, Nova can capitalize greatly.
Seeing rotations now start to pop off. The snake play has been employed by Nova. You saw it work so well for them in game number 3 on Erangel down on Sanhok Island. We'll see how it fares here on the way north, just past the shooting range area. But it's going to be Chris, SK rather, going to be spotting out Cal from Are You Scared, spraying him down. They almost able to get the knock, but not able to secure it. But it's going to be VN1 that comes in huge. They're going to be able to get the knock, but TJ Tattoo spins it around. Are You Scared is now fully engaged with VN1, but how will they be able to fare being in this wide open area? Both teams taking casualties, and Silent Killers all still alive. This is what they needed to be able to safely disengage from the bunker.
They're trying to get themselves up. TJ Tattoo, there's the knock coming in for him. I believe he's not going to be able to stay alive much longer. Charger has actually been removed by some members of Space Station Gaming, and VN1, they're under fire here from Method, who are holding a good angle against Are You Scared as well. They're fighting off 2 aggressors who are coming in from this southern side, trying to find a way into this next circle. Grenades are going to be tossed over the top, and here comes Are You Scared on the push. Mighty taking the brunt of the attack, has to take cover, try and get out of it, but Shizu not able to get anything done here as he's dropped as well. Mighty, the pressure's being applied from behind, and there we go. That's going to be a cleanup from VN1 as Bucky, on his last bit of health, manages to stay alive and press into the circle.
By the grace of God, Bunky has somehow been able to stay alive. Who knows what he did, what he ate. Maybe it was a great breakfast.
It was,
maybe,
no, it was not. This was not natural. He made a
not
deal with the
natural,
devil.
Yes.
And that's how he ended up getting
his
into
soul
the
is
circle.
gone. He might walk away with some chicken dinner or at least a guaranteed 5th place finish, but he has certainly sold something along the way as he continues on, though. He's the only player at least making this trek from south to north, but there are going to be at least 2 teams waiting there in the form of Cream as well as the Silent Killers. We'll have to wait and see if he gets spotted out, but 5 teams remaining, 12 players alive, and when you take into consideration 12 players alive with only 5 teams, well, Nova's got 4 of them.
And Cream's got the other 4 Esquires, so there's 2 full-strength squads. As Edwin goes to start working against that, making sure they're in the dominant position. Kira's been knocked, and that's actually going to be kill confirmed there. 3 members of Cream left alive, and now the strongest player in the game is Nova. Bucky, nothing you could do about that, my friend. Just taken out from the side. It's Beowulf on the aggression, looking for it outside of 9K. Colo going to be the one to get the knock. They're looking to find something out of this one, but no! That's going to be another knock. Rolex being downed and taken out. 3 squads remaining. 4 for Nova, 1 on the side of Silent Killers. And you got 3 remaining for Cream. That care package dropping in the middle provides bounty, but also cover in what the next circle could appear to be.
7 players alive. That's all that Nova currently sees. They've got 4 of them. The numbers are in their favor. How are they going to play, though, off of this? They certainly have to be aware that snakes are in the grass, no lawnmowers in sight. They're going to be hard to detect as they continue to try to stretch around this map and redeem themselves off of that 3rd place finish from game number 3. What's better than 3rd? Well, Nova is currently saying 1st, as Sam going to be leading the charge dangerously nearby to where Cream is waiting.
Playing the circle, they've just entered it straight away and cut off the other side of entry, so they're not letting anyone get in. They're going to end it before this next circle comes into play just by holding these aggressive positions. Grenades being tossed over to Cream, denying the sight lines. Vice versa being done. Sam's got the angle onto Karma. Already knocked him down. Won't get the flush for now, just resetting. See if he can force the hand of Cream as the rest of his teams come in from the same angle, and that seems to be where they want to attack from. Grenades being thrown over the top through the smoke as Cotto will then get that flush onto Karma. 2 members, 1 member remaining for Cheto for Cream, and he's stuck in the middle. Meanwhile, Chris just trying to keep his head down and snake around, get that 2nd place finish out of the back. But he's trading fire into Nova. He's alerted him to his position. This could be detrimental to Chris.
And this is the 4-stack of Nova that you have been waiting to see if you're a fan of this organization. This is the Nova that you have seen over the course of the last year of PUBG Mobile, showing up their skills here in the final moments of day 4 of game. You know what, Trid? I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done.
That's fine.
I'm done. Nova's just blowing me away. They're picking up so many points along the way. 15 kills to their name, and just 2 solo players stand between them and a chicken dinner to end out the day.
And Chris, I really disagree with Chris's decision to try and take any kind of firefight here, as he's just getting himself into a position where now he's lost what was a comfortable 2nd place. With that, they just know Cheto's the only one alive. They're just going to rush him here. He can't fight off 4 members. He tries valiantly. Try as he may, he will not succeed. Nova Esports taking 1st place in our final map of the day.
In high fashion, too, a massive kill count, all 4 members alive. It just doesn't get any better than that if you're a team here competing in the PUBG Mobile Club Open, trying to make it into the semifinals.
Yeah, I really disagree with Chris's decision. He should have done it. We saw exactly how to play that scenario in our previous map.
We did.
Stay in cover. Angry did it perfectly. I'm just not going to make any noise. Let these guys fight. Yeah, I might not get 1st, but I can definitely get 2nd, get those boosted points. But instead, he starts trying to fight Nova at full strength. Obviously, he doesn't have all the information.
Right.
That does dictate the decision making. But still, if you know you're a solo player, you want to keeping it down a bit. You know, there's 7 players remaining. It's going to imply there's a beefier squad somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, here's the plan. As a solo player, you need to wait for the kill feed to erupt. You have to at least try to play as much in your favor as possible. And being as a solo player, you catch 2 teams off guard, knocks on both sides. That's what you were doing. That's what Angry was waiting for in game number 3, and exactly right, Trid. You would have hoped to have seen it out of him, but you also have to applaud the effort of playing aggressive, not going out without swinging, hopefully trying to pick up some kills along the way.
Yeah, and the same thing happened there for Cheto as well inside of that shack where they all breached in. He's like, well, I'm going to see what I can get from this, and just started holding down his left thumb on his shoot or whatever.
Maybe I'll get
whatever
one.
Binding as well. Maybe he'll get one. I mean, he'll probably get a knock, won't get a flush because there's just too many people shooting at him. Too much DPS coming out.
Yeah.
Not going to find anything from that one, but that's Nova Esports picking up a win. VN1 though, weren't able to get match Misfits record, but still 2 map wins in 1 game day is pretty impressive. And
Misfits, this is them right now. They're sitting on their couch,
Yeah.
they're going,
sweat off the brow.
sweat off the brow. They can still say we're the only team so far in the North American PMCO that's won 3 games a day.
Yeah. And I think that is very hard to beat, quite frankly. There's a little bit of faith, a little bit of luck that comes into it. Like, we do say that players should be able to play around any situations,
Yes.
but if you just constantly getting railed by bad circles across all 4 maps, for you in particular, then yeah, if you overcome that, great, but it's not looking good for you, shall we say. But overall on the game, VN1 stepping up, B&D now with 8 map played overall. They've still, every team, or every group actually, has got another game day, which is going to be tomorrow and Sunday.
That's
and
exactly
at that
right.
point, if you're in the bottom 8, we say goodbye to you. You don't come back next week for our semi-finals, where we're going to, I believe we're going to reseed the groups and play around with the 24 players we've got.
Yeah, and ideally the action continues to ramp up as we kick out some of our weaker teams in the lobby. So some of these teams might be having an easier time than others here in this lobby, but you have to consider it's going to get more difficult, Trid, and if you back off a little bit, well, some of your teams might see that as a vulnerability going into the semifinals.
Let's have a look at our schedule for today. Just give you a reminder of those map winners. Like we said, VN1 picking up 2 map wins. Space Station Gaming picking up Sanhok at the beginning of the day, and you just saw Nova take away the second map of Erangel. Let's open it up and see what remains on the cards for this week. We've got A and D going up against each other, so that should be quite interesting. VN1, I believe, is in Group C, so we won't see that clash. VN1, is it in Group B, I believe, or is it Group D?
I believe they are in
Double check.
Group number C.
Wait, VN1?
Yeah, VN1 I believe is in Group C.
They've just played today, so they're in Group B or D.
Oh yeah. They're Group B. No, D. They're in Group B.
Right.
Oh, Trid, stop asking me questions.
Okay, I'm asking you questions. We'll figure it out
Oh,
anyway.
look at
but
your own
But
notes.
the point is that we're going to be potentially seeing, if they are in Group D, which we will double check for you shortly, that means that we're going to see VM1 go up against Misfits Gaming tomorrow, because it's A versus D on Saturday, and then we'll have B versus C to close out our group stage. So A and D, your last chance to lose tomorrow. If you don't get enough points, then, well, sorry, there's not much else you can do about it. We're probably going to be saying goodbye to you at the end of Sunday's show, and you'd really just hand over the keys to your own destiny to groups B and C.
Yeah, and again, if you want to find out who is in which group, if you want to see the scores over the course of the last 2 weekends, over the course of today as well, maybe you missed some games, maybe you want to check out those VODs, head on over to clubopen.pubgmobile.com. Check out the YouTube as well. Everything is going to be listed there for you to check out before we kick up the games tomorrow.
If you missed any of the games, of course, you can go over to the YouTube channel PUBG Mobile Esports, and you'll be able to find all the footage across all of our regions that are going on simultaneously. Subscribe to that, and of course, ding ding ding, ring that bell, get the notifications as well when new footage comes up. But that's all for myself and Esquire for today. We'll be back with you at the exact same time, 8 PM Pacific, tomorrow to bring you groups A versus D as we try and find the bottom 8 teams.